Still rocking the goatee though. I like it.
I did I tell you why I can't cut it?
Maybe originally,
Did,
but now I can't remember.
did you lose a bet?
No, so I decided to try it out because the full beard was getting too much. So I was like, oh, I've never had a goatee, so I did that. And then the next day I had a meeting with a doctor, and the doctor told me, he's like, Ian, that looks real sharp. So now I can't cut it because he complimented me.
It does look good.
Thanks.
You should turn it into one of like the old timey mustaches on top. So you take it all the way out and you like curl it up at the ends.
I'm letting it grow, so we're gonna see what happens. I'm hoping to braid it down below.
If you did both,
Look
think
like the
about
dude from
that.
Static X.
If I could, yeah. No, that's kind of my inspiration. Him and some wrestlers I've seen. But I was actually disappointed because I remembered when I like cut it all off. I was like, "Fuck, that was my one chance to have starburns."
Oh.
I know, right? Well, I've been thinking just going like letting it grow back again, keeping the goatee, but just adding full mutton chops.
There you
And then
go.
since I can't get a haircut, my plan, I'm gonna try to get that Yager mullet from the '90s
Oh Jesus. Yes.
and just rock that and see how long I can live that lifestyle.
I mean, the top
You
of your
have
head
the
already
right
kind of
hair
reminds
for
me of
it.
Yager. So
That's
that
the
works.
thing, yeah. If
Yeah.
I put the right product in, I think I can pull it off. But I just need the shutdown to go on for another while because my hair starts getting just thick and not long at this point.
So if you grow the mutton from Yager, how are you going to show it off if you don't leave the house?
I have meetings.
So just show it off on the webcam all the time.
Yeah, and then I'll go outside for groceries. They can't see my cool ass goatee, but they can see my mullet.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bry Guy into Super Friends. I'm your host Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is everyone's favorite pirate, Andy Stoles.
What's up, podcast people?
We have our returning video game correspondent, Matt Nickel.
Good to be back.
And he's the slowest bro I know, Darth Slowbro, Mike Bradley.
I mean, yeah, it's just a gamer tag. I mean,
It's the best reference I had at short notice.
but I will say, you can catch me on Rare Achievements at twitch.tv/Rare Achievements. We're going to be chasing down the rarest achievements in video games, guys. We're starting with Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That'll be this Wednesday, but for you guys, it'll probably be last week on Wednesday when you hear this.
Truth.
But yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to see if we can clear the tunnels with only a 1911. Should be interesting.
That one I can actually say I've done.
0.68% of gamers.
Yeah. Finally, and shout out to Evan on Facebook for not only being one of our 20 listeners, but also giving our last guest the nickname of Leroy the Dream Killer, Ian Leidick.
I'm better than you, and you know it. Check me out on twitch.tv/X Choco Bars.
Tell me that's a real thing. Is that real? You have a Twitch
Yeah.
account now with that?
Very real. Streaming right now.
What are you streaming right now as we record this?
Check it out. Go look.
You're
Stop
gonna make me
doing your work for
multitask in
you.
the middle of recording. I'll have to visit it later. I'm not gonna do that right now.
That's a Valorant streamer.
So it's not Ian, or it is Ian streaming
No,
Valorant right now
that's not it.
that you know of.
It's a young Asian lady.
It's a good persona, Ian.
Thank you. I'm getting into the virtual YouTube business.
All right, so since it seems like the only news and updates we keep getting are from video games, we've got another video game episode for you. This time we're going to talk about the Xbox Games Showcase. And I also feel like first I kind of have to apologize for anyone that followed the original link that I put on Facebook for the showcase. So this was like a day after the show. Eric texts me and says, "Hey, I caught up on the showcase. It wasn't bad, but that narrator was annoying as fuck." And I'm like, "What narrator?" So I checked the video, and sure enough, there's someone narrating everything that you are watching. So he's like, Xbox logo. Master Chief is on screen. Master Chief runs around. Master Chief grapples. Master Chief shoots a bunch of enemies. I didn't even realize this was what was happening. I tried putting up the show after it was live, and Xbox's YouTube had a bunch of different versions in different languages, and I picked the first one I saw with English, What I didn't realize at the time that was it was the English with descriptive audio version, so there was a narrator for the entire fucking thing. So I've updated the link if anyone came to watch it later. So that first 24 hours that it was up, it was probably very, very weird trying to decide why there was a narrator. And I don't know, maybe I'll let you guys be the judge. I don't know, I told this to Eric. I don't know who looks worse, me for posting the video without looking at the description, or Eric who watched the entire fucking thing without questioning why there was a narrator for the whole thing.
Well, Eric probably just assumed that's what the new xCloud service brings.
It just narrates your gameplay regardless of what you're playing.
That's the future. That's what Stadia showed us.
Oh, all it would say for me is, oh, died again. Oh, died again. Oh, died again.
If we could turn it on and off, I'm in.
Keep
That
you,
would be
yeah,
fun.
somehow keep people invested watching you for all the slow moments when you're not talking.
Well, yeah, I mean, imagine they could give it different voices. You could get Samuel L.
That's
Jackson
true.
narrating your games.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, so we're going to try to cover the event. So Xbox showed us some more games coming to Xbox One and Xbox Series X. They did not use this opportunity to talk more about the console, other Xbox services like Live or xCloud, and they still haven't announced a price point. So this event was basically all about the games. One thing they did mention was that all the games that were shown will be available on Game Pass, which I think is actually a pretty big deal, considering the amount of stuff that they covered. So getting into the event, sort of what we do for other events like this that we cover, we're not going to cover every single game that was shown. What we'll do is we'll sort of go around to every person, talk about what caught their attention from the show. We're slightly changing the format a little bit. So basically, we're gonna talk about one game at a time. So we're gonna toss it to one person. They're gonna talk about one game they want to. We'll toss to the next person. They're gonna talk about one game they want to, and we're just gonna go around, sort of like how we do our top 10 countdowns when we get to those lists. So we'll be covering, the games that caught our attention in no particular order. We have our order determined, who's going to talk first and whatnot. So we'll get to that. But so before we get to the games and going around the horn, I want to quickly, I guess, kind of go around the horse anyway. But give your general overall impressions of the event. Was it good? Was it bad? Did it hold your attention? That kind of thing.
Well, I thought as a hour-long commercial for Game Pass, it was pretty good.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
As for the showing itself, I thought it was competent. I think it hit all the notes it needed to, but it wasn't all that exciting either, I'd say overall. We'll get into it, but there's only one standout game for me that I saw that I'll talk about in a little bit.
Okay.
So I don't mean to rag on it too much. Like I said, I thought it was okay, but not super exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't blow me away by any means. I found myself actually not paying attention at a bunch of points, just kind of like da looking over here. Oh shit! No, what is he doing now? Okay, yeah. So it just, I don't know. A lot of the games that they were previewing didn't really do anything to want me to even try to even look them up and try them. So
Fair.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It was, I was hoping at some point there was going to be some major reveal of something that we didn't know anything about, that there was no rumors about, that there was nothing you expected that was like, and this will be available at launch, or, in something they managed to keep under wraps that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like we didn't get that.
I don't want anything at launch because launch games always suck. But I think there were a lot of the thing was with this, a lot of the games I'm most excited for had very short showings. So it's more of what I believe will happen with them that makes me the most excited about it.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, a couple of these made me think I want to go back to, there's some of these were sequels. I want to now revisit that original game to see how that played, to see if I'm into that game. So I'll know. I think that's a lot of why I'm excited is to go back to what's the past in this case.
Yeah. I think, they're definitely trying to play up the nostalgia, especially with like Halo and stuff like that.
Sure.
Speaking of.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's probably where we're going to end up starting. But I agree with what these guys said. I think the show itself was a little underwhelming. I think the one game that I was the most excited about coming out of it was the one game I knew they were going to talk about, which again was Halo. There wasn't a lot that surprised me. I'm like Mike. I wanted them to give us something that was a surprise, that was like the oh shit moment of this is happening, we're going to get this in 2 months type of thing. And it wasn't there for me. And maybe just because they're not really forcing you to upgrade right off the start, they're not really pushing for new killer apps for the next console. Maybe that's a year down the line after the console's out in people's hands, we'll finally get stuff like that. But as an event for a console launch type of thing, it was very underwhelming to me. So we're gonna dive into the games now. So Ian got first pick for this. So Ian, lead us off. Whatever game you want to talk about first.
So if you listen back to my intro, you'll know why I'm starting. And the first game I'm going to talk about is Halo. So I want to start with this trailer. There's the very beginning showing that armor being made. I'd watch a whole modern Marvels episode of them making Spartan armor. I just want to point out, Bungie was very good at putting out trailers that really explored the universe, like without the gameplay. And I think 343 did a good job at the beginning of this, just setting the tone for here's some fucking Halo. And I was like, hell yeah, that's some Halo. And then we get into the actual gameplay. They go through some classic weapons we've seen before, assault rifles and pistols, and then they give us some new ones, like I forget what the one was called, but it just grated enemies. It was called like the Grater, something like that.
Yeah.
So bullshit like that. And then we hit the Carbine was brought back. It was a modified version of the Carbine. No Needler, which was disappointing. But
Doesn't
the
mean
big
it's
thing
not
they
there.
showed us, that's very true. We haven't heard yet if there's a billion guns, but I can only imagine they did not say that. So there's a chance there's a billion guns in this, just like in Borderlands. But they did show us it's going to be an open world. It's going to be an open world game where you pick out different missions to go to, which is something they've never done before, which I think can open up a lot of new gameplay opportunities, which they also showed us with the grappling hook, which looks cool as hell. And with Halo, like melee finishers has always kind of been a big deal in single player and multiplayer, finish them off with the quick melee. And now you can grapple to them and fucking burst their shit up.
Did they happen to confirm in any way that it is open world? Because that was my impression too, but I don't know if they actually said that anywhere in the game.
They never said that, but I mean, it's open world.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're
when
talking
they,
about the
when they
biggest-
looked at the map,
You're seeing
that's-
they
yeah, that's
mentioned
what I
seeing
got
the
too.
Halo as it properly should be explored.
I could have
It's
So
sworn,
you
gonna
go
be
anywhere
open
on that
world.
ring.
Yeah.
yeah, I could have
the whole
sworn they
ring.
said that it was going to be open world.
They made mention, I thought, of like, you have the option to pick the missions you want to play. So
I don't know if
that's,
they ever said it,
they-
but it's so heavily implied that it would be weird that it's not.
right. And that's sort of where I'm leaning too. So, all right, so we're on the same page.
There's a rumor that I heard just today on Review Tech USA that their original plan for Halo Infinite was to be a completely open world. You could literally go anywhere on the ring. They said about midstream when they changed the engine from Unreal Engine 4 to the new engine's slipping my mind right now. They decided to pare that back a little, where it's going to be a little more guided, but still plenty of open worldness to it,
Okay.
for lack of a better term.
Okay.
So I would expect, definitely the most open Halo ever, but hopefully a little more guided, for people that want a more traditional single player campaign.
Story focused stuff.
So I hope that rumor turns out true, because I think that that could be a very interesting take.
Yeah, I think more, especially that kind of environment. Like the ring was always really cool, seeing the different places of it, and just being able to just having the freedom to just hop in a Warthog and drive around whenever the fuck you feel like it is awesome.
Oh yeah, and
And-
those skyboxes.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, speaking of the Warthog, the driving looked crisp as fuck.
It
Yeah.
did.
That
It
the
really
driving
did.
looked amazing compared to the way Warthogs used to drive.
I think they just had someone good doing it. I'm pretty sure it controls the same fucking way.
Well, we'll see.
Why
We'll
would you
see.
ever change that? That's-
Yeah.
It's
I
so
don't know,
ingrained.
because it was not the best before. Like the
Yeah,
driving
but
in Halo
that's the
was not.
fun. It's the fun.
Okay, but I feel like if you're gonna have like the open world traversal, maybe you need a better
No, you get that
mechanic
jank ass
so that
thing.
you can.
That jank ass Warthog, and there's gonna be one mission where you have to drive it for an uncomfortably long time, and you're gonna fuck up doing it because it's a jank ass Warthog.
Well, whether it was a skilled person or not, the driving looked cool. So it was either because the person was good or because the driving mechanics are improved. We'll find out, I guess, over time.
The other big thing I think they showed when they did have the menu open, there was a tab for upgrades. So it looks like you're going to be able to earn upgrades during the single player campaign to
Okay.
improve your character. I'm wondering if they're going to go do like a Doom 2016 system where you upgrade your Spartan armor and weapons over time, or how they'll handle that. Hopefully it's not just more armor, more health, like, something a little cooler with different things the weapons could do, like Doom really kind of focused on, I believe.
Well, I mean, the grappling hook reminded me a lot of Doom as well. Like, but Doom Eternal in like the Super Shotgun's grappling hook in that game, it seemed to be able to function very similar, where it's kind of like turn, pull yourself to an enemy, blast away at them or melee them down, whatever, and then you could just keep on moving. If they do it right, it can add a much faster pace to the combat.
And then one thing I've been thinking about since watching the trailer, and if they do have, like they've had for, I think for every Halo game, the 4-player co-op campaign, and you're all in that Warthog, can you do some sick ass turns with everyone grappling hook something like in one direction, like riding that Warthog? That would be real cool to see.
That would be. Yeah, I mean,
I hope so now. I hadn't thought of it before.
Right?
I am
But-
assuming that they are doing 4-player co-op, just because, like, again, that's
Yeah.
something they didn't explicitly say, but it's been in the last couple of Halo games
Well,
that I feel like it
Di-
has to be.
Didn't they specifically mention with Infinite that couch co-op was coming back?
Yeah, I heard 2-player couch co-op and 4-player online.
Okay. All right, so I missed that if they did say that somewhere. So I mean,
I
again,
remember, like,
sort of assumed,
this
but
is like
They might have
E3
said that,
last year. Like,
Yeah,
this
okay,
is like
alright.
a long time ago. Originally, when they were talking about Halo Infinite, they said couch co-op was coming back.
okay.
And I think like with this, it's kind of going back almost to like the original Halo in a sense. Like I think Halo's environments are always the best on the rings themselves. That's
Yeah.
where I think the games really flourish. So I'm happy we're back there, and we'll find out why. Because I didn't play 5, so I have no fucking clue what's going on story-wise.
Yeah, I might have to play 5 myself now. I haven't played it either.
I feel like I
Five-
gotta
think it's
play
on
5
4
is
Game
again.
Pass,
good.
So
5 is good. I liked 5 a lot better than 4. But it's
Well,
also
that's
been a
good.
while since I've played that campaign that I feel like I do need a refresher on what the hell was going on at the end of 5.
I might just rush through all 5 of them.
I'll do
I've
that with you.
recently played the first 3, but I would replay them.
Get some rare chibies.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's definitely something we could lasso it.
Iron Man, legendary.
Oh god.
That's the only thing that sucks about going back and playing like some of the original Halos is like there's no sprint. That fucks me up so hard now playing modern games.
Well, no sprint in the ADS. That's
Oh right, yeah,
like-
yeah,
like
yeah.
you try to ADS so often. Like I just recently
Throw
like I said, I
grenades
played
and
1,
shit.
2, and 3, and yeah, left trigger was a grenade, and I'm like, oh damn it! And
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many dozens of times I did that throughout that campaign.
So
Just
these,
the lack of ADS is so fucked up.
I mean, that's nice just because I'm good. I have to like set all of my keybinds the same now, so every the game plays the same.
That's
yeah, so
actually,
you have the option to do that, so that's nice.
yeah.
Well, doesn't the Xbox Elite 2 have that?
Yeah, it's
yeah,
not
you can
as
set your keybinds.
not as crisp. You got to like go into another app and make sure that the buttons you're setting or the buttons you need to change in the game itself. It's a little disjointed. It's not as smooth as I would like. It does function.
On PC, it depends on the game. Like some games will have that right in the game for you. Other times you'll have to go and set things separately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In like your keyboard's settings.
I remember the original Xbox, and I haven't seen this feature since. I loved it, and I wish it'd come back. The ability to set your sticks to inverted by default as a system-wide
Yes.
setting.
Yes.
You know,
No,
first thing I
no,
do every
that's
single
disgusting.
game
No.
now is flip
Get
the
the
flip
fuck out
sticks.
this shit.
I'm with you, Matt. I'm with you. Inverted for life.
That's
Oh,
right. See,
it's
we got
awful.
some people that got it right.
When you switch off a controller with one of these filthy inverted people,
Oh,
it
I
just
love
fucks
it.
you
It
up for
fucks,
5
yeah,
seconds.
it fucks him up so bad.
Oh,
Or the
worse.
or
You
with a
pull your
controller
head
with the
back
bumper
and you're
jumpers.
looking up. That's natural.
Oh god.
Bumper jumpers
You're-
drive me insane. too.
I'm physically ill right now.
Andy, I think you got to be the deciding vote here. Inverted or not inverted?
Not inverted. Fuck that shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck you guys.
Fuck you.
If you're not flying, not you can't defend inverted. If you're flying in the game, all right, I'll let it go.
Yeah, but for
Yeah.
a shooter, no. Fuck that.
See, it's GoldenEye and Perfect
But
Dark.
my
They defaulted
inverted
that way.
sticks to the end.
And they did it wrong.
Well,
Yeah.
it stuck with me. After all those years of playing that for hours and hours and hours, it just stuck with me. I had to go that
Do we
way.
need to bring the joystick back to the middle fucking thing of the controller? No. No, they did it wrong.
Yeah, I'm not going to start arguing the layout of the N64 controller.
Or
Next week on
are
Retronauts.
Ian, you got anything else to add, or we'll open it up for everybody else here?
To finish, it was a Halo-ass Halo.
That's good description. I hope they put that on the poster.
They probably did.
Anybody else want to chime in for Halo?
The only thing I would say is I've seen a lot of negative feedback coming from people about the textures in the game not looking great and all this, and it's months away. This is not a finished product.
This is probably something they recorded or like some sort of build of the game from months before this.
Right. Yeah. This wasn't even something they did live. This was a build they edited. Yeah, I mean, this is not what the game is going to look like finished. It'll be better looking than it looked.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't
Plus
judge
4K,
textures.
60 frames per second. That's I think it's hard to communicate over a compressed stream, but I think once you see it in that 4K 60 frames per second locked, you'll have more of that wow factor.
Yeah.
But I can't fault the people. Talking down the graphics. Kind of like the presentation itself. I thought the Halo graphics looked good. I don't think there was anything terrible about them, but there was nothing like, wow, I'm looking at the next generation either.
Right.
But I think that's
it looked
the-
like a good revamp of Halo 1.
Yes.
But I think that's the whole problem with this generation. I don't think the hardware's moved far enough for us to get that anymore. We're not there anymore. Where it's giant philosophical leaps in graphics. That's just we haven't pushed the hardware that much. Like even on the PC, there's just nothing.
Well,
there
I
yet.
feel like there's just not. Like, it sounds weird, but I don't feel like there's that big of leaps left to take. It's in terms of like graphical resolution. It's just
No, I agree.
there's only so far you can go until it's real life in your hands on screen, and
I mean, that's what people thought VR was going to give us, that next jump, but we're still not there on VR.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've heard a lot of talk about, it's going to be the AI, sound design, things like that are going to be more noticeable in this upcoming generation, which I 100% believe. Like, I'm on board and I can't wait to see those things. But to Mike's point and Ian's point, there's not each successive generation, the graphical leaps are harder to show because they're genuinely smaller leaps, and it's harder to communicate, in a compressed YouTube video.
Yeah.
So they say wait till you get it into your hands, it'll be blown away. I don't think that's just marketing speak. I think that there's a lot of truth to that.
and I think a big portion of what we're going to see with this generation is you're going to have a lot less loading times. Loading screens, you're going to have seamless worlds that are popped up in front of you, as opposed to go to this area, do this thing, and then hit a loading screen, go to this area, do this thing, hit a loading screen. It's going to be seamless. And the amount of... So, like, those things exist now. But generally speaking, the games that exist now, like Dark Souls uses a seamless world like that. But you don't have the graphical fidelity in a game like Dark Souls that you do in other things. The textures aren't as detailed up close. And this generation is going to open that up to where you're not going to hit a loading screen and things are going to be loaded from further away. So when you're walking up to something, it's just getting closer to it. It's not actually watching it load in gradually as you get closer. I think that's a big difference that we'll start to notice.
Andy, you got anything you want to add?
It looks exciting. I haven't played Halo since Halo 4, so...
So you skipped out on 5 too.
Yeah, I mean, 4 was okay, but it didn't like blow my mind or anything like that. So is Halo 5 an Xbox One game?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't
It
get
should
my...
be. I think you said you have Game Pass, right? It should be on Game Pass.
Okay. Well, I didn't get my Xbox One until way later, so that's probably why.
Yeah.
And I think the whole Halo collection's on Game Pass even. Like
I would assume all the first
Yeah, the
party
Master
stuff.
Chief Collection is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then 5
think
is
it works
separate
now.
from that, though. Well,
Yeah.
I bought the Master Chief Collection when it first went up for sale because it was like $30. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to buy that. And then they put it on Game Pass like a year later. But
Yeah, I think
5 is separate from it.
5's pretty good. I do remember sinking a lot of time into 5. One thing I liked about 5, and I think they did it with like Reach, and then I think they did it more in I can't remember if it was in 4, but they definitely brought it back for 5. Was like the firefight mode where you get survive the waves of
The
enemies
horde
type of
mode.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was always fun to do. I sunk a lot of time into that stuff.
Well, that was fun in ODST especially.
Yes, yeah, that was where it started. And something that I know they did it a lot more. I think they leaned into it a lot more in 5 was like the armor customization, where you get coins or some sort of currency for playing matches. You use it was a whole like not loot box, but I guess more or less loot box. But you build up currency for like these cards. You buy a card pack, and it gives you like armor upgrades or skins for guns and stuff. So there's a little bit of that, like just customizing how your character looks, like the Spartan armor and how your guns look and stuff. So that was kind of cool. I like customization like that. So I'm wondering if they'll keep leaning towards that and give us more stuff. I mean, at this point, the next one might just be like some sort of online store for customization stuff, like games are doing now.
See, I like that in Reach a lot because you would unlock like points to spend to unlock the armor, but then that armor carried over to the single player campaign.
Right. Yeah.
That was really, I think, cool. Which is much harder to do when you're Master Chief and not Noble 1, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah, anybody else have anything for Halo?
happy the grunts are back.
Yeah. Yeah, we did get the one instance of the Suicider.
Mm-hmm. You got that, and
Kamikazing.
got the like, woo! Classic grunt yell.
I know we didn't get to meme yet, but this was my most anticipated game. Halo is the one I was looking forward to. This is the one I was excited about. So from there on, it's all kind of downhill for me. Like there's couple other things I'm excited about, but
Well, this is the
not
one
much.
I knew was coming, but there was one I was thinking might come, and then it came.
We'll talk about that one, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Maybe,
that'll
who
hit
knows?
somebody's list.
I might not have it on mine.
All right, so second up we got Matt. So Matt, what is your first game you'd like to talk about?
Sure. There was one game in particular, only one unfortunately, that made me say, wow, this looks next generation. Like I could see how this is only possible in a new platform, and that was The Medium. I don't know if anyone here is into horror games. I like them. But from a technical perspective, that was the game where they are rendering two worlds at the same time. If you've seen the trailer, it's a woman that she's a medium, has psychic ability, and from the trailer, it looked like she was walking in a dilapidated real world, or like our world, and then you could seamlessly switch between that and more of like a hellish nightmare type of world. It showed a lot of side-by-side comparisons of both worlds at the same time, and Mike had mentioned the SSD. I could picture streaming all the assets for both those worlds simultaneously, quickly because of the SSD. So to me, gameplay, there wasn't a lot shown. I think you could probably take a good guess as to some of the gameplay and picture how some of the puzzles would work, where perhaps you do something in the quote unquote real world that gets reflected in the hell world, and vice versa. But in terms of like I said, raw excitement, in terms of what I could see only being possible on the Series X or PC, the Medium is definitely my pick for game of the show.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'm not big in I don't play much horror games. I can't say I don't play any. But yeah, the genre itself is not one that I typically dabble in a lot. But I will say I agree that trailer for just showing the simultaneous rendering like that it made me stand up and be like, okay, this is where we're headed. It sort of like the Ratchet and Clank game is like hyping to do. You can sort of like portal to other worlds just on a whim.
Yeah.
And I think it reminded me of like Halo Anniversary, or Halo 2 Anniversary, where you could with the click of a button, it shows you what the original Halo 2 looked like, and then you can hit the button again, and you're on the updated Anniversary Edition, and it's seamless. So I would imagine something like that, and yeah, just the processing power to do something like that is great, and having the ability to go back and forth on a whim it's a really cool aesthetic.
Yeah, so hopefully the gameplay matches the aesthetic there. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it comes out sooner rather than later. But
Did they give a release date for that?
I don't think so. One thing I tried to look out for was at the bottom of the screen whether things were Xbox One, Series X, and PC, or just Series X and PC. Because I believe Microsoft said that for the first 2 years or so, roughly, at least first party, if not third party as well, had to run on both ecosystems.
Yeah.
So things that were labeled as only for Series X and PC, I assume, are at least late 2021, or if not later.
Right.
Off the hand, I'm not sure where the Medium falls in that category. Though.
If I had to guess, Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Matt's probably on the right track. That it for a tech demo for what the Series X is supposed to do, that it probably isn't going to release for the Xbox One. So it's probably at least a year or two out.
If I had to guess based on that, I would say you guys are wrong about it because you can already pre-order it. On
I'd like to be
Xbox's
wrong,
own
I'll say
website, you can order it now. It's $50. It's $49.99.
I'm wondering how if
But
it's going to be
that's
able to do what it
too cheap,
what it's-
but
yeah,
you can,
well,
it
that
says
too.
pre-order for Xbox Series X edition only.
Yeah, okay.
The reason I think a lot of these games don't have release dates yet, and we're seeing that, is more so because the Series X doesn't have a release date.
Right.
So if I had to wager a specific guess, I would say this is a launch title that doesn't have a release date yet because the console doesn't.
I feel like they were specifically
that.
mentioning games that were launch titles. I didn't write any of them down, but I feel like I remember seeing that through the event.
There was at least one that was like available at launch.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to which ones were and weren't. But if you look on like news.xbox.com is the one I have pulled up for like the list of games. It says holiday 2020 for this.
Okay.
There's a rumor that November holidays. I'd have to look it up, but there's some Xbox official that someone asked, by the holidays, do you mean the November holidays, like Thanksgiving? And
It's got to be
she
pre-Black
agreed with
Friday.
that, and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the
This year could be different though.
I mean, if these consoles did not release
No.
before Black Friday, I'd be very, very surprised.
Yeah.
They're only Walmart's only closed Thanksgiving. They're still open that Friday.
Well, no, I'm just saying. I think with COVID being a thing, that Black Friday is going to be slightly altered.
It just means
As to
everybody's
what
going to
the
buy
normal
online instead of
comparison.
going to the store.
Cyber
It's
No,
still
they're
gonna
just
happen.
is going
they're
to
just
be
all
the
going to get
thing.
sick. They're just all going to die.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I was anticipating. Is the people are just going to be stupid and go anyways.
I mean, people already did that for like TVs specifically made for Black Friday. Like, it's
Yeah.
a little disease to add to it. They don't care.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it does say holiday 2020 on it,
Okay.
which makes sense since it has a price.
So I'm wondering if that would only be a Series X game. Because
Well, it
I
has to
can't
be on
imagine the
both.
Xbox.
That's what it listed as.
That's what I mean. Because I can't imagine the Xbox One having the ability to do what it was shown to do.
I guess it is only first party then. That is Xbox One and Series X and PC for the first however long. If there's a launch title that's Series X only, that must mean that third party titles can be Series X only.
I guess I wasn't paying much attention. I almost kind of assumed that every game that was in
I thought it was
the
every
show
game.
was first party, but now I'm thinking about it too. Like Destiny was in this show. Destiny's not first party, so they definitely had some third party stuff in there.
They had stuff that's like it, just like the PlayStation event had, where not all those games were PlayStation exclusives.
Yeah.
Not all these games are Xbox exclusives. This one appears to be exclusive though.
Okay.
It's made by a Polish video game studio.
Bloober,
Bloober.
which is actually something I wanted to point out about it too, that I looked when I was just looking at this information.
But it's the Blair Witch
It-
studio.
No,
Oh,
but it actually has a dual soundtrack, so it looks like the two different worlds have two separate soundtracks. One composed by a member of their own team, and the other composed by Akira Yamaoka of Silent Hill.
say the
so
first guy's name.
Arkadiusz Rakowski.
I was like, when you said the second one, I was like, he skipped that first one on purpose.
No. I didn't skip it on purpose. I skipped it because nobody's gonna know who the person is. Like it says it's just their own team member, but I feel like the two worlds are gonna have two different soundtracks composed by two different people, which I think is very cool.
Yeah.
You almost
agree
have
with that.
to, though, I guess, like thinking about it. It'd be weird if they didn't have different soundtracks. Like,
Yeah, but composed by two different people, which
No,
means
yeah.
the styles will be so different and all that stuff. Like I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, they should have two different soundtracks, but if it was the same person, you might see a lot of stuff running over.
but you almost
From
kind of
that
want
type
that,
of
like, where it
composer.
naturally feels you're switching worlds. Where, like, the music blends together into, like, oh, it's not like instant jump cut in the music. You want it to, like, blend over into the new world, you know? At least that's
I
how
guess
I
we'll
would
see
like
what
to
it
see
does
it.
when.
I
I
don't
mean,
want it
we
to
don't
just
know
instantly
exactly
skip to
how.
that Jason music. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want it to just start doing that.
I don't think that's what's going to happen.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out when the game comes out, but I don't think that's how it's going to go.
Andy, you got anything to add for the medium?
I thought it looked really cool, and I like the the mechanic of being able to like seamlessly switch from one, I don't know what you would call it, alternate universe
Hellscape.
to the other. Yeah. I think that's really neat. I don't know that I really am down with what I can tell is like the plot of the game. It seems a little for me, but that's not really my style of game either. So
You don't play too many horror games?
generally not. I did play Dead Space, but I think that was pretty much the only one.
Yeah. That's actually one I played too. I fucking love that game. I think I played it off of your recommendation a lot too.
Yeah.
You beat that game like 3 times or something,
Oh
didn't
yeah, like 6 times or something stupid.
Sounds like me in Mass Effect 1.
you? All right, so I guess Andy, it's your turn. First game you want to talk about?
Okay, first game I want to talk about is a game from Obsidian called Avowed. It is a RPG, and I have a little blurb from it. I did a little bit of research on it.
What? Look at you.
Yeah.
So proud of you.
It's actually from that Daily Bits that I
Oh, yeah.
recommended to you.
There you go. So you don't even have to
Yeah,
work hard for
so
the news. It just comes right to you.
Nothing from the actual showing will let you know this, but I guess Avowed is going to be in the Pillars of Eternity universe.
Should I know what that is?
It's when Obsidian kind of fully went independent and stopped making like games for other people. Their first take was a computer RPG called Pillars of Eternity, which is a throwback to the classic Baldur's Gate games.
Oh, okay.
It was their first like real fully published independent game in a while, and it sold very well for them.
Yeah,
It
I know I've
helped
heard of
bring them back.
Baldur's Gate. Did you play Baldur's Gate, Andy?
I did very shortly. It didn't really capture my attention span.
Okay.
But it will be Obsidian's biggest game, and it looks like their goal is to steal the open world RPG crown from the Elder Scrolls. There's a few leak highlights. They said that the open world will be much, much larger than Skyrim, although denser is probably more accurate. So there's me more things
Okay.
to do and maybe like a smaller amount of area. It's going to focus on lighting, AI, and physics, as well as a reactive world, paying special attention to how magic interacts with the physics system, which sounds pretty cool, like lightning bolts and stuff like that. I think would be neat.
Yeah.
They're going to have modding support for both PC and Xbox.
Ooh.
They're going to have companions, but they will not be handled like in the Outer Worlds.
Okay.
They're going to have boss fights, including very, very large encounters.
Always a good thing.
Is it strictly single player, or are you going to have some sort of co-op involved?
I don't know. It doesn't say anything about that.
I mean, I would assume just single player, but I'm just thinking if some of the boss encounters are that big, I wonder if they would give you the opportunity to play with other people.
I'm not really sure, but it does say the release is late 2022 or 2023.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's a long way away.
It's a little way away, but it does look pretty cool. I mean, just the little blurb you catch, just that fiery arrow sort of going down different levels of the earth, and then it sort of hits, and you see a guy sort of get a purple flame on his left hand, and then you see a sword in his right hand, and then it sort of just goes Avowed.
Yeah.
So you don't really see a lot, but it's
Yeah,
exciting.
because they
It's
sort of
exciting.
teased. They were showing Grounded first, and then it was like, oh, by the way, we're still working on this other game that is just very early stages, and that's when we got the trailer for Avowed.
Right.
Right. And I think when they say like something like it's going to be a denser world, I think what they're referring to there is a lot of the time with like Skyrim and open world RPGs like that is you have a lot of dead space, a lot of empty space
Right.
in those games in between the towns and villages and whatnot. And a lot of the time that has to do with the games having to load those areas as you approach them. So they create these areas in between that are kind of like loading areas. You're still moving, you're still interacting with the world, but really it's giving the game, they're separated like that so the game has enough time to load in between while you travel. And I feel like the improved processing power that we're getting with next-gen consoles and all that is going to allow for much better load times for things, and they're going to be able to pack more into smaller areas, which is definitely interesting. This was at the top of my list as well. and it is it looks awesome. And yet, I mean, there's not a whole lot to go on, but
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
Obsidian.
it's a long way out.
Yeah.
So
Obsidian makes some pretty good games. So
Yeah,
they do.
you say Obsidian making an RPG, I'm gonna buy it.
yeah.
I'd say it was one of the more intriguing games of the presentation. I mean, the fact that there wasn't a lot of details in the show itself didn't put it higher on my list, but yeah, everything that Drew's saying now and from the presentation itself, I thought, this is one to look out for, but there's not enough info to sink our teeth into yet.
Yeah.
As a teaser, it did its job.
And the one thing I also liked about it is it was really the only game that sort of hit that fantasy note for me in this whole showcase.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And those are the games that I'm drawn to. That I'm gonna be like, ooh, that looks cool. Oh, that looks neat. Ooh, that guy's got a purple fist of magic. Like it's just cool. And everything else is, and I'm not knocking it, like sci-fi or like this goofy like, I don't know, slapstick
Shrinking game.
shooter type stuff like that Rocket Arena shit. But
Throwing it under the bus. It just released, Andy.
It's already
Jesus.
$10.
But I like the sci-fi stuff, and I like shooters and stuff like that. But this one really, like games like these, are the ones that I sort of gravitate towards.
Yeah, I mean, as far as a genre, I feel like there's definitely much more sci-fi genre stuff that's out there. Fantasy is, I think, a little harder to come by.
I mean, Dark Souls exists, so
True.
perfection
True.
was already achieved.
He's got a point. But I also think like you have something. I mean, like Skyrim is so expansive, and I feel like for a while maybe companies have kind of stepped away so that they're not trying to compete with that, because fantasy setting only has I feel like it requires more out of a developer, because like if you're gonna market it like what they're saying here about Avowed, they're marketing it as the bigger and better than Skyrim. I feel like you kind of have to hit that note if you're gonna try to really sell a game, because so many resources go into making these giant open world fantasy RPGs, and if you can't sell enough, can you make a profit off of it?
Yeah.
And if you can't sell it as bigger and better than the thing that is, Skyrim's got to be one of the best-selling games ever at this point, doesn't it? Not the best, but one of the best.
Well, it came out for another console like every 2 years, so yeah, it just keeps on going.
Yeah, it just never leaves. And I feel like they're stepping in at the right time when you're gonna have. We know that Elder Scrolls 6 is a thing, but we have no idea when that's coming.
Yeah, I want to say that their sci-fi game is coming out. Their sci-fi RPG is coming out before Elder Scrolls 6.
I think there might be another game. I think there's 2 more games they have to release before Elder Scrolls comes out, they said. And one's at Starbound or
Yeah.
Starfield. Whichever it is.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
It's a star something. There's a star, and you're either bounded to it or it's a field of stars. It's one of those.
But I feel like that leaves the door open for a game like this to step in and fill that gap.
I mean, you had the same thing happen fantasy-wise with the looter genre with Diablo. Between Diablos, you had the Torchlights come out, you had Path of Exiles come out, you had 2 competing studios come out and try and take over that throne. And I think a lot of people know Obsidian for their RPG-like games, and some people would say they made the best modern Fallout game. So I think they know that they can attack and go for it. And I think Outer Worlds was them dipping their toes into spending that much money into a game. And now with the support of Microsoft, they're taking it another level. I mean, it's already been in development for over 2.5 years. So they got another 2, maybe 3 years of development, so they can go a lot of places. But like I said at the top, what this showed is it's just that hope of Obsidian being able to take their time and hopefully not be a buggy fucking mess. Because I had a lot of good Outer World I didn't have any issues with. It worked for me. I don't know if other people did. The mod support's going to be great. I'm sure there'll be a ton of fucking mods for this. I just finished playing Fallout 4 because I had over 120 mods, and that made the game fun. And I
Yeah.
think, like Andy said, with them focusing more like the real-time weather and like the different lighting things, we know that the Xbox Series X is going to have the RTX features from NVIDIA, so we know that's going to be an increased focus on lighting and shadows that you get with the RTX, which can really make this game pop when it finally comes out.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Anybody got anything else to add for Avowed?
Oh, and I also like that you had a sword and magic, so you're both. I
Yeah.
don't know because I'm sure there's
Yeah.
character creation, but I just know I can dual wield.
Yeah,
Sword
yeah.
and
A lot of
magic.
character creation is like, oh, you can either have a weapon or you can have magic. You cannot have both. This one looks like you can be a little bit of like the jack of all
Spell
trades.
sword.
Yeah,
That's what I want to be.
And
A spell
hopefully-
sword. The best class in D&D.
Yeah, in a lot of cases in games like this, you really have to choose your leveling
right.
because so often magic requires so many levels to be effective in these games. You love to do it, but by the time you get to the point you can use all the spells, you have no stat points left to put into, your strength or your dexterity or whatever it is you're putting into for your weapons.
That's why I'm wondering
So-
what kind of system they use, if they'll copy kind of the the Oblivion Skyrim kind of route for skills, or maybe do more of like a Mass Effect kind of thing, where it's more easy to let people respec as they want to, instead of it being
Yeah.
kind of locked in. But with Skyrim, you eventually level everything up anyways. It just takes longer. So we'll have
Yeah,
to
you
see.
can
When I
max
saw
out your
the,
character.
I was gonna say when I saw the first clip of that where they had the magic and the sword, I thought of The Witcher. Maybe the magic isn't so super powered, but more of augmenting
Yeah,
the
like a
melee
support.
ability.
Yeah, nice thing to freeze them up and you just go in at them.
hmm
Yeah, I think it's real exciting. Might and Magic, let's do it.
All right, so we'll hit. I guess it's my turn. I'm going fourth. So again, the first game that was on my list we already talked about was Halo. Second game that I guess got me excited was State of Decay 3. I actually sunk a good amount of time into State of Decay 2, which I really liked. That was my first experience with a State of Decay game. And I was surprised how much it hooked me. It's a very addictive game. It's one of those ones that like I feel like you can't just play for a half hour. You end up sitting down and it's like 2 hours later, and you're like, "What the fuck happened in the day?" And I like the way that of course I don't know how it improved from the first one and the second one, but the second one was actually really good, and so I'm really curious to see what they improve into the third one. The only thing we got from this event was just a cinematic trailer that basically says State of Decay 3 is happening. So there's not a lot to go on. I didn't actively search for more details since they didn't really talk about anything at the show other than show the trailer. And of course the trailer ends with like zombie deer, so I don't know if we're gonna have to worry about zombie wildlife in this game, but that could be fucking nuts too. But I mean, at least it's gonna, whenever it comes out, it's gonna be on Game Pass. So at least hopefully I can check it out there and give it a shot. So I don't know if that interests anybody else, but that was on my list.
Didn't one of the Far Cries have a thing where like the wildlife started to attack you? But I don't know if they weren't like zombies. So I wonder if it'll
Yeah, they
be
weren't
kind of like
zombies, but
that.
Far Cry, it wasn't just one Far Cry as far as I know. There were several where you have to like hunt stuff down.
Well, I just remember it being a big deal in one, seeing because people like to post
What was
Far
it?
Cry GIFs and seeing
Was it 4?
probably, but God knows what Far Cry they're on now. You could tell me they're on 8 and I'd believe you.
I feel like it was Far Cry 4, where they
Sounds
had
right.
like the legendary beasts you could go and track down.
I feel like there was some. I think Ian's right. I feel like there was some sort of. It might be the right game. It might be 4, but there was like certain. You might be on the same track too, Mike. Like beasts you had to hunt down, but are somehow like possessed, like much more aggressive than normal animals. And when you try to go
Yeah,
and kill them, they just charge and
Well,
beat
they
the
were like
crap out of you.
alpha animals. I felt like that was like the idea. Like they were like animals of legend. You know what I mean? Like the
Okay, maybe that was it.
because I remember you could fish in the game, and there was fish the same way that
Yeah.
weren't necessarily attacking you, but you had to find them.
Did you have to
Oh, no,
shoot
some
them
of
when
those-
you pulled them up? 'Cause they
Some of
were-
those fish beat the crap out of me.
Well, if you got in the water with them, yeah,
That's what I mean. Yeah.
He was tucking
Yeah.
his knife in and going one-on-one with the fish.
yeah. But I remember specifically, like early on in Far Cry 4, there was definitely a grizzly bear that kicks the shit out of you.
Oh yeah.
And like you just have to leave and come back later. Like you can attack the hell out of it. Nothing's gonna happen. Like it just ignores you.
Yeah.
So
You have
is
to go and get better shit and come back.
the State of Decay basically one of those like it's just like survival base building kind of thing, like a
Like-
Rust
like-
or
Yeah.
Fallout 76.
7 Days to Die.
You know,
Yeah, so you
All
are
those
you
other
are trying
games
to
in early
fortify your
access.
base. You upgrade outposts and stuff in your base to give you like a medical bay or a shooting range or something to help your characters then level up.
then
Or-
your character died, you lose all your progress.
Well, you tend, at least in State of Decay 2, you get like a roster of people, so you can go around the world,
Okay.
recruit other people that are there. So you build up your community. You can have like 8 people in your base. You can swap in and out with those people at any time. Because if you use one person for a while, they get tired.
So
They
it's
need
like
to go-
Watch Dogs.
Yeah. They need to. Well, yeah. I guess sort of like Legion. Of course, we don't know if like Legion's going to have some sort of stamina system, or if you can just play one person the entire game without giving them a rest. But this one, they have like stat points, so they have endurance. Like you have to get them to run around, so they build up endurance, so they can sprint longer and faster.
Now, do you have to physically run them around to train this? So you can be like, "Hey, guy, go run some suicides."
I think you have to like control them yourself and run them around.
God, I guess that just sounds
It's
weird.
like
if
leveling athletics in Elder Scrolls.
or like
it's not as
leveling
bad as you
agility in
think.
RuneScape, something like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's
Like,
not as bad. I mean, just using the characters, obviously, the stuff builds up. If you want to do activities with them to build up their stats before you engage any zombies or do any exploring, you can do that. But
Well,
a lot of
how
that stuff
intense
just
is
builds
it
up over time.
as well? Do
Um,
you have to like hunt and feed these people as well, or
Yes.
is it?
So you
okay,
gather
so,
resources
So it is
for your
7
base.
Days to Die, basically. Then, like
Yeah,
same
you
idea.
need-
Like all of it has to be done.
Yeah, so you can you get like food supplies, you get ammo supplies, you get building materials, and the building materials are used for your base. Health kits and stuff keep people healthy, and food obviously keeps people fed. If any of the resources stop dropping, people get disgruntled. People will leave your base. People will get pissed.
so there's sense.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that too. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there
and if
PvP,
you're-
or do you have like your own server?
Sorry, what?
Does it have like? Is there other players in the world, like other human-controlled players, or is it your own like server? Like you can be isolated from. Like no one's gonna come raid you. That's physically controlled by another person.
Yeah, I don't think they have there. You can do some co-op stuff. I don't think there's like a PvP element to
Okay.
it.
So I know that's big
but-
with some of these where you.
Can you have like a whole co-op server where they have their settlement, you have yours?
So I know you said you play this with like Leslie and Eric, so I'm wondering.
Yeah,
How that...
so when we did co-op, it was basically like I start a game, they come into my game, so they can show up in my base, and they can alternate between their crew of characters, but they don't have their own base also in the world with me
Okay. They just bring their crew over, and your crew is like
to
larger.
assist what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
So do they? So when they're with you, do they like sap off of your resources, or do they have to go and like gather their own? Bring
It's
them
more or
with
less
them?
like it has no effect on their base. They are helping my game specifically in my server. So they'd be bringing back resources for my base. They can now like
No,
guns
no, I
and
mean,
ammo
like,
and stuff that they
when they get hungry, do they have to eat your food?
I'm trying to remember how that worked exactly. Because I feel like what I've noticed is that if you are in someone else's game and your character gets tired or gets bit and may be infected after a certain period of time, if you're in your own game and you put them to rest, they seem like they heal up pretty quickly. If you are in someone else's game and you put them to rest to swap out to another character, it seems like they don't heal as quickly until you go back to your server. So
Okay.
I don't think they take up any of your material, but it's more or less like we have to deal with this when I get back to my game. I can't do it in your game when I'm helping you.
So like your character, and then I guess so like if you have food resources, your characters will feed themselves. You don't have to physically
Yes,
choose
right.
to eat.
Yeah. It's just
Okay.
like a day in the game time goes past and you lose some of the resources because you're keeping your base fed.
Okay.
But yeah, it is. I mean, the co-op part of it's fun. I do like playing that game with people. Plus, just having extra hands to go in to raid some of these places where there's zombie infestations and stuff is really cool. Yeah, I think it's a lot more intricate, I think, than some of the games I typically play, which is kind of cool. And there's always stuff to do. Like in your community, you'll have other rival or other like bases, just computer AI people that
Right.
will say, "Hey, we need help with something." You can choose to ignore them, or you can choose to help them out. If you help them out, they might help you out later. If you say piss off and deal with it yourself, they get pissed. They might come attack your base because you fucked off too many times for them. So there's a little it. I
That's
feel
why
like
you
not
first
that
strike.
not that I watch The Walking Dead, but I do feel like it's the closest thing to playing The Walking Dead that I can think of. Just those kind of type of factions and influences and stuff.
You mean except for the Walking Dead games?
Well, yeah, I know they have the Telltale games and stuff like that, but
So do
I
you
feel like
do you
that's more
constantly leave your
story-driven.
base, the safety of your base, to go start a new base somewhere else that you don't know the safety of that base?
There's a little bit of that. Because there's probably at least the one map that I've played so far. There's probably like 5 or 6 different bases you can get to. Some of them require you to have a bigger group with you. Like you have to have 8 people before you can get to this base and claim it.
And do any of them
So-
have people like named shady stuff like the governor running them already?
They a lot of the characters that you find already come with names. So yeah, some of them have weird. I think Leslie was real upset when her character G Burger died. So that was a thing.
Cheaper.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
So if say you go and take over another base, does it expand the number of active players you can have under your control? So instead of having your base 8 at a single base, would it then be 16 if you had 2 whole bases?
Well, they only let you control one base at a time, and then you can sort of control maybe 1 or 2 other outposts. That so like you control a power plant, so it gives your base electricity, so you can run different things, but you still have your
So you
main
can't
base
just
on
kinda
top of
control
that.
the world.
Right.
basically. You just kind of have your settlement.
Yeah, it forces you to migrate to a different settlement and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just guessing from our talk. No one else has played State of Decay.
Nope.
No.
Okay. It is on Game Pass for anyone that is interested, so I would highly recommend it. At least give it a shot. So we'll spin back around to, or sorry, Mike. It's your turn.
You almost did it.
I'm
We
used
talked
to
about
being
this.
last, so it's throwing me off a bit.
What I was going to talk about, actually probably would have went better had you put me right after Andy. But for me, it is the Outer Worlds Peril on Gorgon. This is the DLC. We don't know if this is the first of more than one or just the only DLC. I don't think we have any idea of that yet. But the Outer Worlds itself was fucking fantastic. It was fairly short for that type of game. I mean, it was around 20 to 30 hours, which for that style of game is not very long. But this says it has a substantial amount of content. And I mean, I am just more Outer Worlds is going to be good. But evidently the Gorgon is an asteroid. And yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of like innovation going on in the game that we see in the trailer. I'm just extremely excited to get more Outer Worlds to play, to have a reason to go back in and mess around with new builds. I'll probably start over an entire new game to play the DLC as opposed to like continuing with my current character. And really, guys, like it's on Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, play the Outer Worlds. It's so good.
That's what
I feel like
think-
Andy, weren't we just talking about that?
That's what I keep hearing.
You had said I think recently you wanted to try and play it, right?
Yeah, I've been wanting to play the Outer Worlds for a while. I haven't had a chance.
Well, there you go, Game Pass. Do it.
Yeah. It has those,
Very
you
subliminal.
know, the opportunity for like
Do it.
the weird builds and, you know, the weird builds you can put together because there's melee weapons, there's obviously guns, and then you have like the crazy alien weapons as well. So it has that, I guess, Fallout kind of system to it. But the world they created, honestly, it's just fantastic. And the character interactions you have with the limited roster of characters that join your squad, your team, whatever, I can't remember what it's called in the game, but you have your allies. And, you know, it takes a level of depth with those characters that I feel a lot of other games miss.
So, is there any indication how long this DLC would be?
From
How
everything
big?
I've seen, it just says it's a substantial amount of content.
Okay.
I don't.
I mean, I know their DLC for the first Pillars of Eternity was very large. It was like a throwback to the old school, like what they were going for that old CRPG, where an expansion would be basically a whole new game. I don't think this will be that long, but I would think, you know, a good 8-10 hours or something, I would expect at least from it. And like Mike said, I
Yeah.
had a ton of fun with this game. It was one of the most games I was most excited for when it was coming out. I finally installed the Epic Store just to play it. It doesn't go like it's a satire kind of on the whole evil corporations thing, but I don't think they milk it too much where you're like I get it, bro, like corporations suck, because it also has this like the cool like B sci-fi movie kind of vibe. Like I think that's what the title Paralon Gorgon's going for, like that kind of old school sci-fi movie that they would show on Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's going for that kind of thing, and they leaned into that some. It's a really fun, cool setting and world. I'm excited to get back into it. This will give me a reason to do my low intelligence run. So,
There you
very
go.
excited for it because they did have special options if you had no intelligence. And I can't wait to find them out because they're going to be exciting because they did the same cool stuff with that like they did in their Fallout game as well. And it's always fun to play those kinds of runs where I get to find out what it's like to be like everyone else.
See, I think for me, the one that'll open it up is I don't know if I'll do a low intelligence run, but I definitely want to do a kill all the NPCs run. Just because it opens and closes doors in the game when you kill NPCs, and everything kind of has different reactions. And I feel like
Makes sense.
the game itself doesn't close off, because like when you kill an NPC, usually you're doing a quest for them, and they'll drop what you needed. Now, if it's a really important one, it's going to be a hard fight to kill that NPC. Like, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
But I always find it interesting to see how the games are programmed into handling what happens if you just kill the NPCs. And when you beat the Outer Worlds, you actually get a little like ending clip that tells you, because you did this happened, kind of thing.
Yeah.
At the end.
Oh, no spoilers.
I didn't tell you, like, it's
That's completely different than how Fallout 4's ending goes, so you kind of ruined it for him.
but because it does that, I want to see what kind of shit it gives you if you just kill everybody. Like, I think this is actually a game where you can clear the entire game of other human life. Like, they won't respawn. Like, even just like the people walking around have a set limited number. Like, they look like randomly generated like NPCs that don't really have anything to do but walk from point A to point B over and over again during the cycle of the game. But you can kill them and they won't respawn, and you can just kill the entire system. I guess they're in a, I don't know, it's a different solar system. I can't remember the name of it at this point. It's like last October I played this game.
I think it's
But-
Andromeda.
Andromeda?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. I'll buy that.
Got a little Mass Effect in my Outer Worlds.
You can kill everything, and I kind of want to see what happens if you do that. Would be interesting,
Yeah.
at least.
Matt, have you played Outer Worlds?
I started it, and I know it's going to be sacrilege, but I didn't actually finish it.
Hey, I'm in the same boat, actually.
Unlimited time, I'd love to go back to it. There's nothing wrong with it. Just didn't quite finish it.
I will say one unique thing, not unique, I guess, but they deviated kind of from the normal companion system for these games where you actually couldn't romance any of your companions, which was kind of a fresh change to be like, hey, I'm not like the harem god. I'm just the dude. I'm just the dude living his life.
Yeah. And Brian, honestly, I know you in particular had a liking for HK-47 back in the day.
Right.
And you get a robot. I don't know if it's as funny as HK-47, but it's pretty good.
He has some
All right.
great dialogue when he goes to clean up the mess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah, that's...
Once I got him,
I
he
don't
was
wanna
a
spoil
permanent
it,
crew
but
member.
That'll be something to look forward to if I get that far in the game.
Definitely. Well, and I mean, that's the thing with the crew members. You have to seek out their quest to add them to your side, and you can
Yeah.
ignore all of them if you want to.
Or you can just kill
Gotcha.
him.
Right. You can just kill all of them and have no crew.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I'm
fucking
not- I'm
weird.
not
You're
that type
asking
of
for
player.
help. Dead.
All right, last call for anything for Outer Worlds. Nothing? All right, back around to Ian. What do you got?
This will be a little quicker because we didn't get a lot from it, but we know exactly what it is. So it's Warhammer 40k Darktide, which is our 40k version of Vermintide. So if you guys don't know, Warhammer is a whole fantasy world setting. This one, 40k, takes place in the year 40,000. So super sci-fi actiony, and the Vermintide game was basically a shooter of horde modes where you would group up. You can group up of randoms, and then you just shot and killed, leveled up your characters, did unique things like that. Building upon your experience over time. But having that group setting where someone could tell you to go kill yourself because you're not playing well enough, which really adds to the whole dynamic of being in the Warhammer setting where your life is always on the line. So this is the space version of it, but it also means we have Kron, the blood god, and I cannot wait to deliver blood for my blood god.
If Warhammer 40k is always something I've tried to get into several times. THQ in the PS3 360 generation had Space Marine, which I enjoyed, and then more recently that Diablo clone, Chaos Bane, which my wife and I played through. We kind of liked it. It was no Diablo, but nothing has really pulled me super into that world yet, and I keep wanting to. So maybe this game will be the one that really grabs us.
That's been the problem with the Warhammer license, is they will give it to anyone to make whatever they want. So you get a lot of low quality shit. But since we know this is based on Vermintide, there's a certain level of quality we can kind of expect from it. So we can pay attention to this one and see what happens. It's not as bad as some of those Warhammer games get.
I mean, plus it'll be on Game Pass, so try for free.
I don't work for Microsoft.
True, I guess, yeah. I don't know, anything else because this one's out of my wheelhouse, so I really have nothing to contribute to this one, but anybody else? Anything
Never
else?
played a Warhammer.
Yeah, never played them. Always thought some of them looked cool, but never actually played them.
I think that's always the other thing for people getting into it, is that since it's such based in the board game almost, but there's so many other avenues to get into Warhammer, it's like, where would I fucking start? So I think this could be a good option because it's very, I think from what a lot of people like is a shooter. It's a shooter, and it's a sci-fi space shooter with space orcs.
So is this a first-person shooter or a third-person shooter? Is it?
I'm assuming it's going to be first person, but I mean they could do something different.
Okay. Yeah, first-person shooter. That will probably draw some people in.
All right, so we'll go to Matt.
Sure. Well, a movie/game I'd like to see is As Dusk Falls. It's a very, very cinematic trailer coming from a new studio called Interior Night. What caught my eye about that is that it is from a former designer at Quantic Dream. If you've played Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, Detroit Become Human, it's along... I assume the game is along the lines of those games. Very polarizing games. It's extremely cinematic, a lot of quick time events, things like that. I'm a fan of that kind of genre, so seeing what next-gen version of that is very exciting to me. To kind of summarize what was revealed in the trailer, it looks like it tracks the story of a family. It starts with a husband and wife and their daughter in a motel. Motel appears to get held up, and it's heavily implied that the father gets killed. And they fast forward later, and it looks like the daughter's grown up, and how she deals with that presumed tragedy. From a storytelling standpoint, seems very interesting to me. So, like I said, kind of polarizing type of genre, but I'm looking forward to it.
So are we assuming just like quick time events for this game?
Well, I was wondering if it's going to be like that or like more of a visual novel where you kind of just read it with the pictures changing and then choose choices. Like they didn't give us enough to know how it's going with that, I think. So
Yeah.
we're going to have to wait
Right.
and see, I think, on if it's quick time events, visual novel, or some other combination of that.
I mean, to speak to Heavy Rain is the only one of those I've played, which was fantastic. It's similar to what Ian's describing, but there is certain, like, the quick time events are very limited.
Yes, I was gonna say it's not.
In
Yeah, I said quick time events, not only quick time events. It's its own style. It's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard to describe. Mike, before I interrupted him, maybe he's gonna do it justice.
well, no, like, yeah, it's something where, like, the type of quick time event I can remember from Heavy Rain, like, off the top of my head as an example. There was ones that might be more traditional, but there was one specifically, you're on the dance floor, and, like, it's like, press the X button to shake your ass faster, or better, or dance. Like, it's not, and how you dance really doesn't make a fucking difference to the game. You can choose not to do it. But the game itself had so many different endings, there was no real fail scenario. for any of the QuickTime events.
Okay.
What happened.
Yeah.
If you did it, you got that result. If you didn't, it moved the story along anyways. You didn't replay the QuickTime event.
See, but I would
Yeah.
like it to fail where it's like you dance so poorly, no one wants to talk to you ever again. I would like that. But
see,
you're now a
that
social
was-
pariah.
Well, no, that was like kind of the way it could go.
Okay.
It's not a fail, but the story would continue from that point forward.
Yeah, there's very few game overs, I guess.
Okay.
You could certainly fail a given task, but not fail in the sense that game over, screen reload, and start over.
So that would
Yeah,
almost
there
like
was
lend
bad
itself to
endings.
itself to more replayability. So if you get to the end and you're like, well, that kind of sucked, and then it's like, well, let me try it again and make different decisions.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, didn't that one specifically have like 26 endings to Heavy Rain?
That sounds
was
right.
so-
Heavy Rain only had
There was one true ending.
yes. I was gonna say that the main mystery had exactly one ending, but
Right.
how the main characters' relationships with the other characters in the game did have a lot of variability to it.
Right. Yeah, well, like how certain characters existed in that game that didn't necessarily affect the outcome of the ending of the mystery. So they might be alive or dead at the end of the game based on the decisions you made. And with all the different variables for those characters, like the number in my head comes to 26, but like you're right, like the ending mystery, you could have a bad ending where you didn't figure it out and you're like the main character you played as ended up dead. But other than that, there was a lot of different variables in how it could end. But it was more so what Ian was mentioning, but it was like the dialogue would have almost a QuickTime event. So you had to you couldn't just sit there infinitely and look up which decision I should make will get me what outcome. There was a timer. You had to make a decision in the dialogue as you were doing it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Andy, what do you think about this game? Is this something you'd play? Is this in your wheelhouse at all?
No, I watched my buddy play Heavy Rain, and it's just not a genre that I am interested in.
When you watched him play, did it feel like you were playing?
Well, no, like I was like, "What are you playing?" And then I watched him play it for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, "I'm out. Have fun with that.
See,
I'm gonna go get a
polarizing.
beer or something."
I would say the
and
one
that's fair.
one thing I
That's-
really liked was the art. It kind of gave me a Scanner Darkly kind of feel to it. Like it looked cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it looked a little more cell shaded ish.
Yeah.
I wonder if this will be one of the first games on xCloud since it won't take much to run.
Oh, true. Yeah. All right, we'll swing over to Andy. Next game you want to talk about?
The other game that caught my eye was a game called I think it was Everwilds.
That's
Yeah, that was by Rare.
Yeah,
right?
by Rare. Yep. It had a really interesting animation style, which also looked sort of cell block animated, and it didn't. I don't know. It almost looked like the refresh rate was purposely slow, so it almost looked like they sort of had shadows following them when they were doing their stuff, which I thought was kind of a neat thing. And it looks like it's very cooperative as far as play goes, but they didn't really show us much in the way, as far as I know. They didn't show us any gameplay, but it looks to do with magic and healing the earth, as far as I can tell, or not the earth, but wherever they are. World, yeah, world magic, we'll call it, yeah. But it just looked like they were I don't know, trying to revive nature, maybe getting rid of a plague or evil or whatever that's inside of whatever. But it looked really neat, and I don't know, Rare has a lot of good games, so I would tend to trust them.
Was this something I'm trying to remember? When they showed the gameplay and the trailer and stuff, was this something they were trying to hype up as Rare is creating another franchise of this could be multiple sequels after this and stuff like that?
I think it just had the logo, and you're like, okay, here's what Rare's been up to.
Okay.
Because we don't know what they've been up to, and it looked cool. I liked the look and feel of the world. It kind of was cool. Everything they did, it wasn't I'm casting magic. You were casting magic to interact with something.
You
It wasn't just
you had to
fireballs.
you had to
You were
you had
Yeah.
to do a dance, or you had to
they were doing
know.
that to control the wind or do something with plants. You weren't
right.
just
You had to
creating
meditate
something.
or something. Yeah. But
It
there
was like very interactive.
the thing I didn't like about the trailer though is that it didn't really give you much on the way of like plot or what's the point of doing all of this.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I mean, you revive a deer at one point, so I'm thinking maybe it's like a deer simulator.
and now I'm gonna
Maybe-
go lick this taxi.
Maybe it's related to State of Decay 3. Maybe you're healing that deer.
Oh, see, it's all connected.
Cross promotion.
But
That's
I
what
think
you
it
can do
would
with
be
the
really,
xCloud.
I think it'd be really cool if it had like some, like couch co-op and, Xbox Live co-op and stuff like that. I think it'd be a neat game to try. It'd be out of a lot of people's wheelhouses, but I think interesting enough to try it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it could be one of those like chill games when I don't have a ton of time. Like, okay, I'm just gonna chill out and do some world magic.
Matt, where do you fall on this one?
It caught my eye. I don't know if I have much else to add. It had a great feel to it. Cross between the feeling I get from Horizon Zero Dawn and maybe Breath of the Wild, perhaps.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Whether the actual gameplay is anywhere near either of those, I couldn't tell you. But at least from at least the overall atmosphere, those are the two inspirations I took from it.
Right. Mike, where you at with this one?
About the same. Like, it looks interesting. It's rare. You can't really argue against their pedigree for making awesome games. Will I probably try it at some point? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're getting to the point where like there was very little I feel like that interests me. Like it looked cool. I like the animation and the style of it, but like just for what the hell was going on in the game, it's not like in my wheelhouse. So it's like, okay, I'm all right with that. I mean, I might, with all this stuff being on Game Pass, it's hard to be like, I'm not going to play that because it's part of the subscription. So sure, if I want to try it, I can just jump in and give it a shot. But it's not. I guess it's not at the top of my list where it's like I need to play this. It could be one that I just check out later just because of hype or someone recommends it or something, but I'm not going to go out of my way to find it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I fall. It's on Game Pass. Anything that's on Game Pass, there's a pretty good shot that I'll at least try it.
Yeah.
So,
all right, anything to add for this one? Everwild? No? All right. So the last one for me that I was going to talk about, which I don't know, might be a cop-out because I feel like we talk about it all the time, but Destiny 2 is coming to Game Pass. I know, I was trying to sell Andy on this again once I figured out what was happening, but it's going to be on Game Pass, all previous DLC.
Yep.
So Forsaken, Shadow King, right? Shadow Keep?
Yeah.
So everything that's out there right now, up until this point, will be there, and you're getting Beyond Light when it releases in November. So all of that is included in Game Pass. You're not going to get like anything extra with Beyond Light. It's just the standard edition to be able to play some of the new stuff, but you're not getting the season pass or any of the extra like pre-order goodies and stuff that you get from actually purchasing that section of the game. But considering I'm part of Game Pass, I like that I really don't have to go out of my way to try Beyond Light. I can just pop in and try it whenever it's released. And again, we keep talking about Destiny's just one of those games. Yes, we bitch about it all the time because it doesn't change and it seems like it's a lot of the same crap, but it still fucking gets me to come back and play it every couple months. So I'm sure when this comes out, I'm going to want to jump in and at least play it for a couple weeks to a month and see what's going on and how it changes and stuff. And the other thing that I thought was interesting is they mentioned in Bungie's press release for We Are Coming to Game Pass is that the game, they've already said, will be available through xCloud for Android devices. They don't specifically mention anything about iOS or Apple, but if you have an Android tablet or phone, you will be able to play this game on your tablet or phone through xCloud, through Game Pass when that's released. So that's fucking cool too. I think it's one of the few games that has come up front and said, yes, we're going to be available through xCloud. Like Microsoft keeps pushing xCloud, but we don't know what games are going to play on xCloud or when. So to have a big get like Destiny to be able to play through xCloud is pretty cool.
It worked out for
did they say
Stadia.
when for xCloud?
I mean, xCloud is a service I thought they talked about coming out in September or something along those lines in September.
I meant Destiny being on xCloud.
Right, but that's what I mean. I don't know if it's going to be available. Like, you can play what's available now for Destiny in September when xCloud starts, or it's going to be when Beyond Light hits, then you can be on xCloud. I don't know what the release date there is.
Okay.
Or it could just be after that. Maybe once xCloud gets up and running as a better service, and maybe Destiny will get there eventually, and they're just saying we will be available there, at some point in time. They didn't, nothing in their press release says when, just that it's going to happen.
Okay.
So I know, Andy's burnt out from Destiny. Matt, I know, is burnt out from Destiny. Ian tried Destiny. I don't know if, consider yourself burned out probably from Destiny?
Yeah, sure.
More or less.
Why not?
Sure. I know Mike's still dabbling. I don't know how much you're playing it recently.
I mean, the last 10 days I haven't played anything, honestly, because of the ear infection. But
because I'm still dabbling here and there. I got into it for like a good 2 weeks, and then I'm starting to, get less and less playing it here and there. But I still want to play it. I just have to find time to sort of work in and try to get my like weekly routine in there. So I don't know, between now and whenever Beyond Light comes out, I don't know how much I'll be playing it, but I'm sure Beyond Light will get me back into it for a little while. So,
I mean, I feel like the going to Game Pass is a big deal. I'm glad I didn't pre-order it.
Right, yeah.
Because they, I feel like they put out the info about Beyond Light. They put the pre-order out for Beyond Light. And I'm not, like, it's a very Bungie thing to do, to announce Beyond Light and put a pre-order out for it, and then a few weeks later announce, hey, if you did that on Game Pass, or if you did that on Xbox for your pre-order, well, it's going to be free, actually, and you wouldn't have had to do that. So now you have a bunch of people that are going to be trying to scramble to return pre-orders.
Well, the difference is, the thing with Game Pass is it's not there forever. It might only be there for the first 3 months, just to get you in the door, to say, look, this is free, try this out. And then after 3 months, if you want to still play the game, you will have to buy it.
Yeah, you get a discount at least, too.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I was going to say, like, it's a thing where we don't know that. Like, Bungie, from the way this looked, it sounded like a commitment going forward with Game Pass. At least to me, it seemed that way.
I mean, if you look at their like, in the post they did for We're Coming to Game Pass, they have, like, frequently asked questions, and it's something along the lines of, like, what happens if it leaves Game Pass or something. Like, there's some sort of field or question in there. What happens if the game leaves Game Pass? So it's a possibility that it will not be there forever.
Sure.
So they're telling you, and
but at the
maybe
same time, it's still something where, like, I mean,
a lot of it's still free already.
right. Most of it is free, but the expansion passes aren't.
Yeah, but I mean,
Which
after
is-
Beyond Light is done, you don't almost maybe not need that one. If it does, you would just get the next one, the next expansion.
Right.
That's what I mean. So
And that's kind of what I
yeah, it might not matter.
And that's kind of what I was going to get at, is that it's something where, like, I feel like they should have mentioned it with the pre-order information. Just bring it up then. Or don't put pre-orders out until the Game Pass thing is up or something. Just, it just seems a little bit off.
I don't know. I feel like the people that pre-order are going to pre-order regardless.
I
They need them
normally would be one of
shaders.
those people.
Yeah, I think just pre-ordering for the goodies, like, some people will do that. So I feel like there's a lot less people that might be pissed off about this than maybe you think.
Like,
I'm sure there are people that are pissed off.
I mean, to be fair, I'm in a Discord with hundreds of people that play Destiny, and pretty much everybody that pre-ordered was pissed off if they're on
Okay,
Xbox.
but when are they not upset?
Well, no, but in this case, I would say it's a little bit justified.
But they would be upset regardless. Like, they would be upset that the pre-order wasn't available until the Game Pass thing was announced. They'd be upset
Oh, no,
about that if
I
they did it
understand that.
differently.
And that's gamers. That's not just Destiny. Let's be clear about that. Gamers just get pissed, and you give them an outlet, and they just go. But on the good side of this, we got a nice look at the new abilities.
yeah.
Did we?
That look.
Did I just not pay attention during this one?
I'm assuming.
Well,
yes.
you don't play
probably
enough.
zoned it
Like
out.
the whole ice abilities and the ice walls and things like that.
That sounds like
that
Valorant.
got
They
thrown
stole
up.
that.
That's all new. I really like the idea that it looked like one of the grenade abilities creates ice walls that can become platforms for you to use to jump around.
Yeah.
That opens up a lot of new areas in the game, potentially. Places you can go and things you can do. I feel like it's a little bit of a change. I feel like it's going to have a big change in the way PvP plays.
Oh, true. Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's obviously just going to be the new meta. Like, everybody's just going to keep using the new ability for everything.
we don't know. At first, that's what people will do, but we don't know how effective they're going to be. We don't know what the supers are going to be. We don't know. There's a lot we don't know.
Yeah.
Because the subclass trees are changing as well. at least for the new subclass. It's not going to function the same way they currently do.
Okay.
They're going to be customizable subclasses. Like we had in
Okay.
Destiny 1, where you could shift shit around to make a build
Right.
right in your subclass. You're going to be able to do that with the stasis abilities, not the original 3, though.
Okay.
So that could shift it a lot because of that customization. But you put a new ability in the game, I feel like you want people to use it.
But like putting
Yeah.
the new abilities in like the regular PvP, like the regular like Halo like multiplayer, that's just gonna break it because like there's no way those maps are designed for platforms being created somewhere. Like that's gonna be a broken mess for like a month if that's in there.
It's a broken mess now.
Yeah, but
this
it's
is a
never
different
not
broken
been a
mess.
broken mess.
It's a
A
different.
lot of
I'm saying, but it's
Bungie
never
is just
not
very
been that.
reactionary right now to every update to Destiny. It's like, okay, we made this cool thing, but wait, we broke half the other crap, so we have to hurry up and fix this before we do other new stuff. That's the
Yeah.
trouble they're in right now.
They have one exotic weapon called Telesto in the game that just breaks everything every time something new happens. Every time they put something new in the game, Telesto breaks it somehow. And
I mean, that's the problem with an ever-expanding game. Like a game that doesn't
Well,
end, that you're just always adding to all the time. The groundwork you've laid 5 years ago is suddenly outdated and broken.
I mean, World of
compared to what you're
Warcraft
putting in
pulled it
there now.
off.
Well, you got to look at for example, like their PvP has been broken since they started with 4v4 maps, and they wound up on 6v6 as the team base.
I mean, that probably works. Everyone likes playing Shipment and COD, and that map is too big. That map's too small for people with 4v4.
Fair, but it's just like with all the different abilities and all the different things that can go on, it's not a serious PvP game. People take it more seriously than they should, but it's more of a fun, silly PvP for me.
I mean, there's only 2 serious PvP games
Valorant.
in Counter-Strike.
Okay.
Trying to think of number 2. I couldn't
Well,
think of number 2.
if you wanted to do a third, it'd be League of
I would say
Legends.
Counter-Strike and well, I was thinking shooters, but
Yeah, if we're doing
people
just
are very
shooters,
serious
I'd
with League of
listen.
Legends. Valorant, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about its staying power.
I know, Andy,
Hasn't been around long.
you're not even interested in Destiny. Nothing about this interests you at all.
I have one word and 5 letters. It's the whole reason I'm never going to play it. GRIND. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Fair.
Every single time they even do the slightest little update or whatever, you got to regrind all these levels, and then the levels do you shit. They don't do anything for you.
Yeah.
They don't. You grind all these levels, you still go on a patrol, and that same dredge is taking the same amount of shots every single fucking time. You shoot that same fucking dredge, takes the same amount of fucking shots. No matter how powerful your gun is, it still takes the same amount
Unless
of
you're
fucking shots.
underpowered. Don't forget, if you're underpowered, that drag will shit on you.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
If you're not high enough level, that same drag that you can never really get powerful enough to just kill in one shot no matter what will destroy you if you're under level.
Yeah, it's bullshit, and it pissed me off, and I'm done with it.
Fair enough.
It's a fair criticism.
Matt, are you in the same boat? Nothing will bring you back to Destiny?
I wouldn't go that strong.
The word
Uh,
free is powerful.
Yes. I mean, the fact that it was announced during that showcase, I thought was interesting. I'd call that, for me, one of those things that I thought, that's neat. Didn't
Yeah.
super excite me. I guess getting a DLC for free as part of Game Pass, I might give it a spin. I don't know. I wouldn't say there's nothing that could possibly bring me back, but there's just so much good stuff out there that, I have to really be compelled to return to Destiny.
Yeah, and that's a problem with a
place
lot
to
of
something
stuff.
else.
Yeah, I get my back catalog is still so fucking big, and I feel like I just play the same 4 games over and over again. I need to just set aside time to be like, I need to play older stuff.
I've been trying to do that, but then I realized half the games I play are just free Riot games. Finally beat Fallout though. Yay.
There you
And
go.
Doom.
Check that box.
And Doom 2016.
You haven't got to Doom Eternal
It's
yet?
got to be under $10.
Oh.
A lot of games I buy, I wait till they're at least 15.
I mean, you were on my Steam account. You could have just played it then.
Well, now it's not on my good PC.
I mean, you had my password.
Yeah, but I was trying to do it real quick. I'm not getting into it right now. There's a different discussion.
Ian, I'll check with
Which
you
I
too.
haven't
Any
changed.
Any interest to come back to Destiny, or no? You done with it too?
Maybe if there's crossplay.
I mean, that's coming eventually.
Yeah,
Eventually.
they did say that.
Yeah,
in the
Apex
last
said
big
that
announcement,
too.
but
It's coming now, like 2 years
Yeah.
later. And they said
Okay,
that
they
at
didn't say
launch.
when.
They said that at launch.
I think
Stadia
they-
people. Is it?
I think
God, fuck
Bungie
that.
has. I thought they confirmed with their first event like back a couple
Yeah.
months ago that they like sometime in next year. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
early
they're-
next
they're-
year or
Yeah, well, they don't give specific dates on shit.
okay. Yeah, sometime 2021 crossplay is supposed to happen for Destiny.
Yeah.
Then maybe, probably.
And I'll only be playing through a VPN at that time. Peer-to-peer networking, opening it up to crossplay with PC. They already have enough problems with people cheating and using booters and all that fun stuff in their PvP world. I can't wait till they open it up to PC and have the networking working that way. That frightens me, actually.
All right, so that's all we got for Destiny. So we're up to Mike again. Next game for you.
Oh shit, you brought that up, didn't you?
I did.
I figured it was Destiny. Like, that's what I was going to talk about next.
All right, what's your plan B?
Well, the only thing I have left, other than what I know Ian will talk about next, because I know he's been saving it, but the Tetris Effect looked awesome. It looked like a PvP delve back into Tetris, but it looked like this time you're going to be able to throw blocks on your opponent's spot wherever you want. As well as trying to build your own, you're also trying to like fight off mess up your opponent's build at the same time, so you
Yeah.
can choose what to do. That to me looks like an awesome fun time.
As
Fair.
part of that trailer they showed, it looked like 4 side by side Tetris grids that looked like it was all part of the same play field. That seemed. I want to know what that's about. You know, in terms of-
That's what I think is the multiplayer, where like each color represents a different person,
yeah.
and you're messing with other people's builds. Is what I took from that.
I was wondering if there's more of a co-op element to it, like where you have to make massive lines across 4 different play fields.
That'd be nice if they did
okay.
both.
Oh, maybe.
But I also
It's Tetris. It's not that tough to do
I
it.
like the
Yeah.
I didn't play it, but I like the Tetris 100, like it being a battle royale. I like that kind of thing. I wonder if they would bring that mode back. Because
Oh, the Tetris 99.
Yeah, Tetris 99. I got
Yeah.
into that in the Switch a whole lot. So yeah, it'd be interesting. That 4-player thing, competitive or co-op, it at least looked like it set itself apart from Tetris 99.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say. It's Tetris, you know.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Andy, where are you at on Tetris? Excited? Not excited? Don't care.
There was a Tetris game that did have a little bit of multiplayer to it, and it was odd. So I'm
is that
sort of
Tetris yeah. Oh, because that is this one, I think. 'Cause I'm reading it now. It says this is a new version of Tetris Effect. So
Yeah, it's Tetris Effect Connected. It says
okay.
co-op, competitive, online, and local multiplayer.
you would hope that
So the
they could handle couch co-op on a Tetris game. You would hope the Series X is powerful enough.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if Series X can handle Tetris.
This might be an xCloud only game.
All right, so that's another round through everybody. Just curious, how many games does everybody have left to talk about? Because I'm out.
3.
One.
Yeah, I'm done.
And
Mike,
I'm
you
sure
got any more?
Ian will talk about one of them. One.
Okay.
And I'm sure Ian will bring it up. So
Andy, you got any
it's-
more games you need to talk about?
2. I
Okay.
couldn't remember what the hell they were, but I'm looking at the list right now. So.
All right, we'll come back. We'll come back to you.
Oh no, I mean I know what they are now. I looked at the list.
Well, we'll spin around. We'll go back in order again. So Ian's up
Thank
first.
God.
So Hellshake Yano 2. I mean Hellblade 2. So I really want to go check out the first one now. The trailer looked really cool. It's made by the same studio that made the Devil May Cry remake, remaster, whatever the fuck we're calling those nowadays. They made that Devil May Cry game that was called DMC, Detroit Metal City. And so this looked cool. I think that kind of gameplay is really fun, and I would like to try it out. I'm definitely going to go back. I've already looked. It was just on sale for the Steam Summer Sale, so I'm going to wait for the next one and snag it for my under $10.
Well, I think it's on Game Pass too if you have
Yeah.
Xbox One.
I'll have to see if it's on the PC Game Pass.
I for Hellblade, I would say definitely play it. As far as smaller titles go, that to me is the absolute best one that came out this console generation. It is an incredible experience. Play with a headset. Take their audio settings if you can manage it. It is very audio intensive.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be a little tough to play with a headset if you have ear problems. And the combat is amazing. The puzzles are amazing. The story's awesome. And yeah, the new game looks incredible. Like, it just, it looks even better than the last one did, and the last one looked pretty damn good too.
The first game's one of those games that always sort of intrigued me. Like, it looked really cool, but I wasn't really sure, based on any of the trailers that I saw, like, what kind of game you were really getting into. But it always looked like
third-person action.
It always looked like it had really good graphics, and it looked like it had sort of like that fantasy theme that I sort of really like. So
it definitely has a message. It definitely has a point. Not to get too far into it with like kind of the mental illness. I think the whole atmosphere is more important than the combat per se. On paper, it is a third-person action game, but I don't think you're coming to that game for the combat. So if the world and the overall concept of the game sounds appealing to you, I would definitely check it out.
But don't knock the combat.
No, I'm not saying it's terrible.
The combat is awesome in the game. It's just, you're right, it's not entirely about the combat, but the combat is great. And for someone like Andy, Ian, you guys get into it, it's not a long game. It's like 8 to 10 hours.
Okay.
Depending on,
What you
if
do.
you fail sections and stuff like that, like how many times you have to replay or how quickly you figure out puzzles. But it's an 8 to 10 hour game, and that's not a lot of commitment from us gamers, 8 to 10 hours. And I played through it once, and like I literally had, I think, 90% of the achievements in that 8 to 10 hours I played. And the only one I missed was like a collectibles one. So it's definitely, it's not expansive, but that 8 to 10 hour experience is one of the best 8 to 10 hour experiences I had this generation.
Gotcha.
So definitely looking forward to the next one. Hope it's a bigger, more expansive game. I hope they expand that experience of that 8 to 10 hours out to maybe more like 20. I don't want it to be a 50 or 60 hour campaign, but a 20 would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 20 would be the upper limit. I thought the first one was the right length. I think it said what it needed to say. It didn't drag on. If they could fill 20 hours of content, fantastic. If it's another 8 to 10 hour game, though, I'll be perfectly happy.
Right.
Oh, and it's the studio, the Ninja Theory, who I always get confused with Team Ninja, so I always think it's the same studio. But yeah, it is on PC Game Pass, so I'm going to try out the first one.
There you go. Have you played it, Brian?
I have not. No.
Now you have to.
It's a short game. That's the draw in. It's short, and you can get into it.
Add it to the list. Anything else that we want to touch on for this game? Anything else? Nothing? All right, over to Matt.
Yeah, Hellblade 2 was my last one. I'll say one other quick impression was from Psychonauts 2. Not so much for that game, because I hadn't played Psychonauts 1, to be honest, but I'm a big fan of Double Fine. So if you like point-and-click adventure games, I'm hoping that they come out with something along those lines for Series X. That would be mind-blowing to me. I don't know if anyone's fans of Maniac Mansion or Broken Age or any of those type of games, but if you are, Double Fine and Tim Schafer is, he's the man. He invented the genre.
Like Maniac Mansion from like Nintendo? Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
That was a
He's been at it for a while. Yeah.
Oh my god, that was a good game.
Yeah. I pretty much went to his first game and his most recent game, like Broken Age, came out a couple years ago. Great storyteller, lots of humor. I love Double Fine. And Brutal Legend 2. I would love for that to exist, but
I mean, they were
not
showing
sure
Jack
anyone
Black.
besides
I
me
thought for
played it.
sure they were going to talk about Brutal Legend 2. But yeah, we didn't get that.
But he had a nice song in the trailer. It was
He
fun.
did. Yeah, he did get a song in there.
Jack
Yeah.
Black.
I don't know if he's an actual character in the game or if he just sings sometimes or what, but good for him getting some work in.
All right, so we'll spin around to Andy. What are one of your two games that are left?
Fable.
Okay.
I never actually played any of the Fable games, and I've always meant to, sort of get into those because I've heard really good things about them. But I think it would be a cool time to do it if, go to the next generation, get a badass, 4K TV and, let her rip,
There you go. That's your goal for next gen.
That was the thing with the Fable games for me is I played all of them and I enjoyed it, but especially like the first one and when they re-released it as I think it was the Lost Chapters and added in like a little extra end-game quest content. The thing with the Fable games though is like each iteration of it got more simple combat-wise to where it was like it's almost not a game. It's not difficult at all. It's like I'm just kind of playing this to play it. I will say the two things I noticed is that this is being made by the studio that made all the Forza Horizon games, which surprised me. This is their first non-car game.
No.
And
Okay.
they didn't say whether or not Peter Molyneux, who was the lead designer on the original Fable, is involved in all. I know he has credits in all three Fables, but I believe Fable 3 he wasn't heavily involved. He was just a producer. So that's something too. And then the fact that it's called Fable, so I'm thinking it's like a reboot. So hopefully that means we'll get interesting combat and not the little bullshit that I had in Fable 3 that wasn't really a game, honestly, combat-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I played the first Fable. I played about half of the second Fable. I tried the third one, and I just couldn't play them. For basically what Ian's saying, like, the combat just wasn't there. I don't even, like, it's so long ago since I played the first Fable that I don't remember much about it.
Like I played that one
Yeah,
a
I mean,
lot. I
that's-
know I beat that one a good many times. Me and my brother really enjoyed those games. But like Fable 3's combat essentially is Dark Souls for babies. Like you could set a small child there and they could beat that game. You just gotta walk them to the fights.
Yeah, and I feel like that's simplifying the combat is something I just never enjoy. It's one of the only. It's like the recent Spider-Man and the Batman Arkham games. They have this very optional in-depth combat system that you can use if you want, or you can just mash attack and directions, and both will kind of work. And I feel like it's that same kind of thing where like the simplified combat to me isn't as replayable, and it doesn't hold that interest from me. And I feel like in the case of Fable, simplifying it the way they did definitely, it's like a quality of life thing, but at the same time, like, I don't necessarily want that.
I mean, there was no depth to the combat. It is the most simple thing. And I know another thing that people didn't like about 3 is literally the whole game you have a green trail leading you to the next objective. Like whether you want it on or not, it's
Oh.
just always there telling you
Oh,
this
almost
is
like
exactly where to go.
almost like the thing in Dead Space where you could be like, oh, this is where I need to go. Oh, this is where I need to go. But it was constant.
It was constant. It just was always there leading you to the next thing.
Oof.
Having the option to like turn something like that on and off is fine. If if I've been sitting there looking around for where the hell I'm supposed to go next for an hour, and I can't figure it out. All right, let me turn this thing on real quick and see. Just give me a direction, and I'll head off in that way. But something like that you can't turn off would drive me insane because you're not even playing the game at that point. Isn't part of it exploring the world
No,
and
Oh.
actually exploring?
not really, because
And-
they just tell you where to go.
Yeah, exactly. And that to me is just like defeating so much of the purpose.
Matt, you play any Fable?
I haven't. It's one of those series that I almost got into. But no, I haven't played any of them. I saw that it's just Fable as well. So if it is a reboot, maybe this is my entry point.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things. It's a really cool world where, like, one of the big things is there's just a giant amount of heroes, but like the fantasy kind, not the Marvel kind, going around killing and slaying shit.
Lost me. You lost me.
So there's this thing where you don't have superpowers. You just get really skilled, and you defeat enough things, people call you a hero.
Those are actual heroes, as opposed to people that are only heroes because of superpowers.
Super.
Or because they're
Gotcha.
rich,
Yeah, or because they're rich. That's true. Those ones are also.
or they're aliens.
Yeah, I think I want to say like I might have played Fable 3 for a little bit because I think that was one of the first games that was like free with gold.
It was, yeah.
Like whenever they started that, so I was like, oh, free game, this is fucking great. And I think I played it for a little bit, and I was like, it didn't grab me the way I thought it would. So yeah, I of course I've
You
never
gotta
played
pay
any other.
for getting grabbed that way.
True. But I never played, I guess, any of the other Fable games, so I don't know comparatively combat-wise what, how it felt to 3 compared to the other ones, since 3 is my only exposure to that. But I mean, if this one's hitting Game Pass, yeah, I could jump in and give this a shot, see what it's like when it shows up. So I think the only people that have games left to talk about, Andy and Ian, right? Andy's got one more. Ian's got 2.
One now.
One.
Yeah. Fable
So who
was
wants
my
to go
last
first
one.
and see if you got the same game to talk about?
Let's let Andy go. I bet he's got the same one.
All right, we'll both say it on one. All right.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Balin
Stalker.
Wonderland. Ah.
All right, Andy, go ahead.
The game I wanted to talk about was that Balin Wonderland or whatever the hell it was called.
Oh, that was like in the pre-show,
Wonderworld.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderworld? Yeah, whatever the hell it's called. I don't know.
The thing with the
The
hat.
thing with the hat, yeah.
Is that the thing with like the Dragon Quest guys or something? Is that
No, that was
So-
Sonic's
No.
team and or some guy from Sonic and Square Enix.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. There where they have their own little studio within Square Enix
okay?
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Okay. Yeah.
called Balin Wonderland, Wonderworld, or whatever the hell it's called. I can't even remember.
Yeah.
But
It's Wonder World, but the first word I have no idea how to say it.
straight up,
Well, in the
straight up,
pre-show, they kept saying Wonderland and Wonderworld as well.
okay.
So
straight up Balin,
think
yo.
there's
Anyways, it looked interesting to me, but it didn't look that different from one of the Kingdom Hearts games to me also.
Right.
You know?
Mhm.
So I don't know how it's going to differentiate itself from those, being that those are also from Square Enix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think they have a long way to go to show me how it separates itself from a lot of those other type of action, like quirky kind of games.
Right.
I think they were having a heavy emphasis on music from what I remember.
Yeah, I think they said it's
You
like
know,
based
I-
on musicals, which seemed cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Square has been into like theatr rhythm, like Final Fantasy theater rhythm.
Yeah, yeah.
They seem to be dipping their toes more into that music genre lately. So, if they have a unique twist, if it's more of a real RPG with music as a key element, it could be interesting. I mean, it definitely caught my attention in the pre-show.
Yeah, it looked like it would be neat, and I thought the character designs were really cool, and the art to it was pretty neat. But I think they have a lot.
That was one thing they were hyping, right? Like character customization
Right.
or the
Well,
amount of
that and
characters that were in
they
that or
said the word
something.
action, and it must have been like 1,800 times.
Oh, that's
action,
right.
action
Yeah.
game, action game, action game. Like we're making action game. So, I think they have a long way to go to show me that I'm going to want to play it. But right now, I'm intrigued.
Fair enough.
That also reminded me, just like the music thing. There was that 360 RPG Eternal Sonata, which was based on like Frederick Chopin's music somewhat. So that was always fun getting to hear like that classical kind of music. So I wonder if this could deliver something like that too. So that was a JRPG.
What was it J-ass?
You don't want to get into it.
Fair enough. Anybody else have anything to add for Balin Wonderland? Wonderworld, whatever it was. Now I'm confused too.
I got as excited as those guys because they had a lot of energy. I enjoyed
they did
them
actually.
presenting.
They did have, I thought, the most energy out of any of the what would you call them?
Devs. Any of the dev presenters,
Yeah,
yeah.
the presenters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like compare that to the dudes being like, "Oh, skate's back." It was a lot better.
Fuck those dudes.
All right, Ian, your last game, Stalker.
Stalker 2. So I never got super into the first game. I played it some. It's definitely not now. I'm like, I got to go back and do it. They've made a couple other Stalker games since then, but this is the first Stalker 2. Based on the trailer, it looked cool. That kind of post Chernobyl kind of apocalyptic wasteland. And I think one of the key elements we'll see, we saw some of these stalkers going around in the world, and we saw the world kind of moving. So I wonder if this is a Strand type game. If this is the new Strand game, interacting with the world and creating new things. I think this could be it.
Sticking to that Death Stranding genre that you so desperately want to happen.
Well, Kojima's working on a horror game, so it'll be our first Strand type horror game.
Have you played Death Stranding?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I have. It's great. It's, yeah.
I guess gotta wait for it to go on sale. Got the same rule.
$10.
PC version just came out, or do you have a PS4 as well?
No, I know. I gotta wait for the PC to go on sale, which I don't even think it's on sale yet. But I know what a Strand game is, and this could be a Strand game.
Know what it is by not playing the basis for which you are basing this genre.
I mean,
But I've talked to
he
Kojima.
made up the genre.
You talk
He
to him.
made up the genre, so he gets to define the rules.
Is Kojima another one of your close personal friends?
No, he was doing an interview, and I asked the questions.
So anybody else have anything for Stalker? I don't really have much to contribute for that one.
Ian, did you play the
Nothing.
first game?
No, I'm definitely gonna go back and try it out. But I know when I did, it was when I had a weak ass PC, which I think is why I didn't keep playing it. So now I'll be able to overclock it. It'll have seamless load times. I'll be living in the future. I'll be living in a post-Strand type world.
Still going. All right, so we'll try to wind it down here. Just a couple general questions. So, I mean, did the event, I guess, influence you one way or the other as far as like what console you may decide to, or maybe I should say which console you may decide to buy first? Does this push you further to an Xbox, away from an Xbox, towards PS4? Don't really care.
PS5.
Yes, PS5.
They're soon to announce we're getting another stimulus check, and that means I'm just going to buy them both at launch.
There you go.
I mean, these are all on PC, so I'm gonna just play them on PC, which is what I was very excited when they first announced that all their first-party games would be on PC, so I can play them on the best platform.
So do you plan on getting Game Pass for PC now?
I'm gonna at least get it like here and there to play the games I want. We're gonna have to see, because not all of them are for sure gonna be on the PC version of Game Pass. So
Right, yeah, that's the PC version of Game Pass is technically still in its beta.
hopefully, just like Fortnite, will never leave, because that means it stays at $5.
Fair enough. Although I will note, if you're not aware, if you were to, say, currently buy a year's worth of Xbox Live Gold to add to your account, if you have Game Pass paid for already, it will only add 4 months to your account of Game Pass. They fixed that whole thing where Brian and I used that. At least Brian, I know Brian and I did. I don't know if anybody else did.
Yeah, I
That's
did.
Andy said he-
exploit.
I did it. I
Yeah,
did
Andy
it as
said he
well.
did it too.
Yeah.
Matt did it too.
Where you mean
Yeah, so I recently tried to add another
you mean
year.
the ultimate?
And I, yeah, tried to add another year, and I'm good. Instead of June 2022, I'm now good up till October of 2022 instead of June 2023.
Sounds about
So
right.
it added 4 months instead of adding.
Well, yeah, because the Ultimate's $15 a month. So if you try to pay
Right.
$60, you're getting 4 months worth of the service.
Well, right, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. Like I didn't realize that was a thing, and then I did it, and it tells you it's a thing, but I already had the code paid for. Like I already had the card, I had the code paid for. There was nothing I could do to
Yeah.
undo it. So like, okay.
So they were just like, gotcha.
Yeah, basically, like you already bought this code.
So
You're
basically, it's
applying
just
the
like
code to
whatever
your
you-
account.
I guess it's to the point now. It's just whatever you pay. If you pay $60, you're getting 4 months. If you pay $45, you're
Well,
getting
if
3
you have
months.
Game Pass added. If you didn't have Game Pass added, I think the exploit would probably still work.
If you
Get
didn't,
3 years
yeah,
of
combine
gold
them
and
together.
then pay for a single month
Yeah.
of
Gotcha.
Ultimate. But because Game Pass is on there, whatever you add is adding Game Pass on.
Yeah, because I feel like we'll get to a point whenever the 3 years is up that it's like, okay, you're not going to be able to separate the two anymore, so you're pretty much stuck with getting Game Pass and Live together. So if you want to up one of them, you're upping both of them, and that's just how it's going to continue for the foreseeable
I really
future.
hope they don't try and pull
Well, I
that.
mean, at that price though, including xCloud, I mean, it almost seems like you should do that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
if the price stays the
It's
same.
yeah, 15.
Oh,
They
they're
said.
going to raise it after the 3 years.
They said with
And,
xCloud's just included into Ultimate, so they shouldn't be changing the price.
No, I don't mean that. I'm talking like if the price stays the same.
The price of the service eventually
In
could go up.
2022, we don't know that it's going to be $15 a month. At $15 a month, it's worth the value. If it's $30 a month,
Well, I think that's
is it
what people are
worth the
saying
value?
is that with them even adding that, they're going to keep the price the same for the foreseeable future.
Well, I'm sort of with Mike. I think for now that's where we're at. But yeah, 2 years from now, Netflix every 2 years is giving you another $2 worth on their subscription fee and stuff like that. So Xbox could do that too, especially if they are not selling consoles and they are really pushing this games as a service thing. The subscriptions you would think are going to go up. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but 3, 4, 5 years down the line, I think that's definitely something that's going to happen.
Sure, they want to get everyone invested in the ecosystem now
Right.
before raising the price later. And if it's a couple bucks, I mean, I don't think I'd even complain about that.
Yeah, I don't think they jump as far as another $15 a month, but maybe another $5. Like I could see $20 a month coming in a couple years.
It's all a matter of, does the cost justify what you're using it for? If you're somebody that plays one game off of Game Pass, like say you're a Destiny player and you just play Destiny, and maybe once or twice a year you download another game and mess with it, it's not worth the price. Just buy the game that you play. Because,
Right.
I mean, so many people end up in this day and age as one game players.
Yeah.
It happens. But if you're, say, just look at the price of games is $60 when they come out new, is there enough games that you're downloading the day they release and playing that it covers that cost that you would have paid for anyways?
Right. Yeah, because then on top of the game you're going to pay $60 for anyway, you are getting Xbox Live, you are getting xCloud, you are getting access to other games
Right.
besides the one you're going to pay for. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, access to, but are you going to play them?
right.
And that's what I mean. Like, you got to determine if that's the value to you or not.
Well, again, that's a problem for future us to worry about because as of right now it's $15 a month, so we're good.
Yeah, as of right now, for me, it was $1.
Well, right.
However
Yeah,
how
we're
long it was. Plus
we're loaded up
rewards.
for a couple years.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the question. So one way or the other, is it pushing you away from an Xbox? Does it matter? More towards PS5? Andy, where are you at with this? Did this showcase sell you on an Xbox Series X?
Eventually,
Okay. No, you're not going to elaborate. Just that's it. Eventually, you will get one.
I tend to sort of go with the PlayStations at this point as like the first.
So you're still thinking that would be the first one out of the gate is PS5 for
probably.
you? Okay.
Unless Xbox does something that really blows my mind, which this showcase had some stuff that I thought would be beneficial to look into, but nothing really was just like, oh my god, I need one. So
Right. Matt, where are you at?
Well, I was going to get both on launch if at all possible anyway. I guess based off of the presentations, if I only saw just the presentations, I think Sony far and away did better with their more recent game presentations. So just on that alone, I'd go PS5 if I had to pick one. With that said, I don't think they communicated that, nor was it really the point of this one. Microsoft is playing more of the long game.
For sure. Yes.
With the Game Pass, with the value proposition, not so much in this presentation, but they didn't want to get caught on the low end of the hardware race anymore either. So I think Microsoft actually brings a great overall package to the table. So I'm happily get my money's worth in both ecosystems, but Game Pass has kind of won me over. As you said, Brian, it's the today me is very happy about it.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do a couple years from now, but for now, my Xbox One X is the more powerful system than my PS4 Pro, quieter and great value with the games. So if Microsoft can keep that train rolling, I think Xbox is gonna continue to gain significant market share against Sony.
This is something I feel like Ian and I have gone back and forth just texting, and I know we've talked about it on the show before, but the different approaches that Sony and Microsoft are taking for this generation. Sony still wants that hard line. PS4 is done. You want to play games on Sony, you are getting a PS5. It's a generational leap. Microsoft, like Matt says, doing the long game, where they're not saying, okay, once the Xbox Series X launches, if you want to play these games, you have to get this system. No, they're saying maybe 2 years from now, you will need to get an Xbox Series X. But over those 2 years, we're going to release them both on an Xbox One and a Series X. You can play where you want to play. They're giving you that variety. They're not forcing your hand, which, depending on what you want to do, you have options. Now, the problem is, based on the show and the stuff that Microsoft is showing, there are more games that appeal to me on PS5 that are exclusive and you can only play them on PlayStation as opposed to the Xbox. The Xbox, to me, for the Series X, does not have a lot of killer apps that I need to get this system to play, which I much rather support Microsoft's model of, like, get it when you can. We're not going to force you to get it on launch day. But Sony, to me, has the better games, which is what I want to play. So I'm leaning towards a PS5 because that's the stuff I'd rather play when the system announces. So it's a catch-22 where I want to buy the Series X because I feel like Microsoft is doing the right model. I would rather play the long game with them, but the fact that Sony has stuff that you might only be able to play on the PS5 and they're going to be available shortly after launch or something like that, that's pushing me to that system. So I'm still supporting the older model of that type of marketing strategy, which I'm hoping doesn't continue. But if I go buy a PS5 and everybody else does the same, then that will be the norm going forward. I think Microsoft is very much ahead of the curve, and I'd like to see that continue.
But I think they're okay with it. That's why the games are going to come out on the One for 1 to 2 years, first party at least. They're okay with you going and buying the PS5 year one. They're there to get you to keep paying for Game Pass year after year, and eventually you'll upgrade to the Xbox One X. Like, they're going to probably be losing money on it, the Series X, the whole time. They're not concerned with selling the console. They just want you on the experience. They probably don't even care if you buy it. They're like, play it on your Android. We don't give a shit.
That's true. Yeah, you're still signing up for the xCloud service in that scenario.
Probably next generation for Microsoft's probably going to be essentially a PC that runs games through the Game Pass. I think they're going to be moving towards that, where it's not going to be a traditional video game console at that point. It's going to be built around that kind of service.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
And specs-wise right now, I have a fairly current, fairly powerful PC. I'm running, the third or fourth down the line of newest NVIDIA, cards in a 2070 Super. And it's coming out, the Series X on launch is more powerful than what I already have in my PC. Just straight, they use teraflops. It's not the only thing that you can measure by, but they use that, and the Series X is coming out more powerful than what I already have. Not by a lot.
I guess that's kind of,
there.
What I'd like to see for Microsoft's long game strategy here is maybe the Sony, the PS5 might, presumably, I think we could probably all predict that it's probably going to sell more systems when it launches. What I'd like to see is what the sales numbers are for the systems over a year. Will Sony start to tamper off? Will they die down a little bit? Will Microsoft gain momentum as the years go on because maybe it's a more powerful system? People are starting to get used to what that does. Maybe they want to, if it gets reviewed better just from people, that it is the better, technically faster system than what the PS5 is and runs games somewhat better or something like that. Or are people just going to go where they like games better? And traditionally, that ends up being the PS5. Microsoft has always struggled with exclusives to get people to buy their consoles.
Sure.
Well, I think the one thing that always leads early in the generation is people just go where their friends go. So early on, it kind of just snowballs early on. And I know Sony, they recently doubled their order for PS5s for year end. It went from 5 to 10 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're planning on moving a lot of units. And
Yeah.
like I said, I think Microsoft's completely fine with it. They're here to make this a service, their own ecosystem. They're not as concerned about the hardware anymore.
Yeah.
And I think another big thing is when we're talking about PC users aren't going to buy Xboxes.
Right.
Because anything that comes out for an Xbox, even if it's not on PC Game Pass, you can buy it for your PC. With a PlayStation, that's not PlayStation exclusives. Usually you wait a long time or never.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very recent where you could get any Sony game on PC. That's a new strategy for Sony.
And if they continue that strategy, is to be seen, but it's something where you can't get PlayStation titles at launch on PC. and maybe some of them just never, period, like I said. And I feel like PC gamers may buy PlayStations. Pure PC gamers like Ian. You're not going to buy an
Right.
Xbox.
There's no reason to.
Yeah.
Right. But a PlayStation, if a game intrigues you enough, you might buy it because you can't get it for what you want.
Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball 4. Announce it.
There you go. Put it out. Ian will buy a PlayStation 5.
That's why I'm waiting to get my PS4 for.
There you go. I mean, it's just something where I feel like that's going to hurt their sales numbers. Is just that entire potential market that they don't.
Right.
Well, I think Microsoft they're trying to change the game. I think kind of like Nintendo's very good at doing I mean, they're way
Yeah.
beyond. They're their own animal. I think Microsoft is trying to do the same thing. Like they know toe to toe, they may not ever catch up to Sony, but Microsoft is pinning their hopes on. Well, we don't care, to the
Right.
point of we'll let you play on Xbox One for a couple years. We don't care as long as you're playing Game Pass. That's where we're making our money. If you compare Game Pass to PS Now, it's almost flipped.
Right.
Or Game Pass is fantastic. xCloud probably be good. I don't know. I mean, better than Stadia or better than anything on PS Now. So it's a matter of which strategy is going to win in the end. I think Microsoft is going all in on this Game Pass strategy. I don't think they can come back
Right.
from it. So
I mean, this is
it'll be
something they
interesting to
started
see
with
how
the
it goes
Xbox
off.
One, like that first E3 where everyone shit down their throat for it. A lot of that
Yeah.
stuff is what they're doing now, and people actually like it.
Yeah.
And once it was
People are
implemented,
ready now. Yeah.
It's the drastic change, that split point of like tomorrow you have to stop doing it and you have to do it this way now. People don't like that. You gradually sprinkle that in over time, breadcrumb it, and people accept that a lot easier.
Mhm.
And I think Ian sent me this one article, and I don't remember where it came from, but basically talking about the console wars and sort of like to Matt's point, how like Nintendo's doing their own thing. They don't fucking care what the hell else everybody else is doing. Typically it comes down to Sony and Microsoft facing off for a new console, but like Matt was saying and Ian's been saying, the service of Xbox and Microsoft, they don't seem like they care what Sony's doing. So, which seems to put to bed the console wars. Sony's going to sell systems because that's what's going to happen. Xbox is going to sell subscriptions to Game Pass and Live because that's what they're going for. And Nintendo's going to still move systems and games and whatever the hell they're doing on their corner with the Switch. So everybody's fine. There's less competition here, and everybody kind of wins.
like they're all going for different things. Like Sony's trying to sell their hardware, Microsoft's doing the service, and Nintendo's making toys.
Yeah,
Like they're all
Yes.
doing their own.
Well-
They're all going after different market segments.
yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo has like that 15 and under and nostalgia
And families.
market locked
A lot of
down.
families go for Nintendo products.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the 15 and under market.
Well,
isn't
I'm
it?
talking
And
about
Isn't that
adults
part
and
of
stuff
it?
too. I think there's a lot of adults, just like parents with kids will play that stuff too. Play with their kids.
Right, and I think but I mean, part of it is locking down that those kids want to play it.
Right, yeah.
And they did the
But-
thing of
and
making the
mobile, like Matt
system.
said.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
I mean,
That thing is so convenient. The Switch is so convenient just to be like, I want to watch TV, but I also kind of want to do this. I can
Yeah.
do both.
yeah,
That's
the
why I feel like
perfect Animal Crossing.
xCloud's going to break me. Like, I'm going to be playing on my phone, like, all the time.
I have to get a new tablet for that, or I have to resign myself to using like the old USB cords. You got to get a tablet that has a USB 3.0
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, get a controller. I couldn't possibly imagine playing Destiny on like on-screen controls. That would
Oh
be
god.
excruciating.
Yeah, I'm waiting for all the accessories to come out for all that stuff, too.
Well, yeah, just get a regular Bluetooth controller, and then you have your Tesla drive you into work whenever people start going to work again. And that's how you do your raids in Destiny during rush hour.
That's living
Yeah.
the dream right there.
They're like, oh, great traffic
Yeah.
jam. Nice. Time for a raid.
Ian, I don't remember if we came back around to you. For as far as like consoles, are you actually planning on getting a PS5 or are you just sticking with PC and that's it?
PC, and that's it. Like I said, I'm only getting a PS4 now because I don't have a Blu-ray player, and there's a couple games I want to get back to. Mostly like they ended up releasing Zero Dawn on PC, so it's one less like PS4 game I need to
Right.
go for. So it's really just kind of like Dead or Alive, and then Spider-Man, and there's probably like I'd probably try out Bloodborne because I don't think that remaster's ever really gonna happen because they're kind of busy making some
It
other
doesn't
game.
need to.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
They needed to get running at 60 FPS and make it not jank. Anyways, So there's just less reason. Like the thing that was going for me, I don't know if they've announced if the new consoles will play 4K Blu-rays. That's the only kind of thing I'm still looking for because I don't. The PS4 does not play 4K Blu-rays and like 4K.
Right.
I thought they both announced PS5 and Series X had 4K Blu-ray players.
They
so
might
I
have,
think
but
you're good on
I
that
know
end.
for sure. Like I'm not buying those at launch. I don't know the last time I bought a console at launch. It always seems better to wait almost because you don't get red ringed or you don't get the jet engine PS4.
That first batch
Yeah.
could be a little rough.
To be fair, the Xbox I have in front of me right now is a launch day Xbox One. And it still runs fine. I mean, it's not as fast as a One X.
No, so
obviously.
sometimes you get with the hardware, but for
But-
me, there's usually not the games I want at launch. I'm usually like, it's either something that would have been
That's fair.
coming out on the last system anyways, still I'll play, or just play other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, for that, I mean, this generation specifically, a lot of it's going to depend on, like, what day does this stuff release? As to whether I'm chomping at the bit to have that right away at launch. Because technically, like I said, it's actually more powerful than my PC.
Right.
By
Yeah.
a little bit. But if that little bit of more power means I can play Cyberpunk at that little bit of more power, that's the launch game that, like, it's coming out for everything, but that's the game for me where I want to play that game at the absolute best possible settings I
Yeah,
can.
but with that, we don't know if they'll have a Series X version or a PS5 version of it currently. At least maybe not Series X. Just like, are you going to play the Xbox One version on your Series X? Or is there an
Okay. That's a
upgraded
good point.
version? I don't think they've commented on that yet. With Sony, it's a little
Right, and
harder.
we also
because
don't
of
know-
their whole thing. But
And we also don't know if we're going to be able to, like, choose how much visual settings we're going to be able to adjust with a Series X. Like the way on PC I can determine
Yeah.
how much.
and what to
power I
turn
wanna
and
put into
even
the
what
game.
things you want to turn down, or maybe if you don't care about
Right.
shadows or something, I don't know, lighting or fucking
Any of
Smoke.
it, you can choose.
smoke show.
You can choose to make your PC work hard to run the game, whereas currently on Xbox we can't really do that with any games. So will Series X have those options or not? That's the kind of thing I would have liked to have seen here as well, or soon.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, what can we do with Series X that we can't do with Xbox?
Because I know, like, for the PS4, like right now with like Ghost of Tsushima, I've heard it's kind of not playable on the like enhanced graphics mode. You almost have to put it in performance mode to get like stable FPS and stuff. So
really?
So I wonder if we'll have it, like if they'll even give you options at the launch of how you want to play these games, or it'll just run at something. Compared to how the Pro has different options for how you want to run the game.
Gotcha. I think that's pretty much it. We'll go around the horn. One last question. Out of 10, how would you grade the showcase?
360.
That's a high bar. Andy, what grade do you give it?
I'd probably give it a 6.
All right. Mike?
Same.
Damn
I'll
it!
say
If you
6.
gave it a 3 and then Matt gave it a 0, that'd have been perfect.
Oh wait, no, I say a 3. I'm sorry, I meant half a 6. 3.
Matt, where you at?
Yeah, I'd give it a 6 too. If I'm being really generous, I'd give it a 7.
The devil's number.
I feel like I'm lowballing it. I'm in the 4.5-ish range.
Okay.
There was just like... I don't
So
know.
it's only 1 point better than Catwoman.
Yeah, was Catwoman 4?
Catwoman got a 3.4.
Then yes. Yes, it was. Yeah, I don't
Disagree
know.
entirely. This was more than a point better than Catwoman.
There wasn't much. Again, there wasn't much in the show that really jumped out at me. The one thing I got excited about was the one thing I knew they were going to talk about. Not as many surprises as I wanted. Anything that they talked about, again, didn't really appeal to me as much as I would have liked. Which, I mean, I got to give it to them. I feel like they have a wide variety of stuff. I think maybe more of a variety than what PlayStation is showing. But it's still just not stuff that's really in my wheelhouse that I would venture and really go out of my way to try to play. So that's kind of where I'm at. Any final words for Xbox Showcase, or we're closing it down? Nothing.
Do we know when the next anything is coming from? Have they announced the date on another information panel of some sort?
Between the two, like Microsoft and Sony, no, I don't think so. At least not that I know of.
Okay.
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they do something every month and a half from here until launch, because there's still a lot of details we don't know. price, release date, other
Release date.
features of the consoles that I'm sure they haven't talked about yet.
I mean, the only thing I know
Yeah.
coming up, it's not exclusive, but Gamescom is the end of August, so
True. That could be something where
I
we
would,
see some
I would
stuff.
Yeah, that
think
could be
we have
big info.
prices by the end of August
Yeah.
because you can't pre-order then with no price.
Right.
Yeah, we need prices soon.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that whenever we get there. And I
Yeah.
think that's it for this one. So if you've enjoyed the show, please support us. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Give us a share on social media. You can follow or subscribe to keep up with the show. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Google, Anchor, Stitcher, hopefully anywhere podcasts are, you can find us. As always, you can find us on Facebook. Search Bry Guy and his Super Friends or go to facebook.com/Bry Guy Super Friends. You can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions, any of that good stuff there. You can send us an email, which I won't read, at bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com, or you can tweet us on Twitter at BGSuperFriends. And on behalf of Andy, Ian, Mike, Matt, and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Love you, Simple Nation.